Welcome back to Total Disclosure. That was my fault. I left that. I left that on there. It was so perfect too. Hey everyone, welcome to Total Disclosure Live. I am Ty and I am the host. Tonight we have such a special, thrilling expose, if you will. And I am here with my good pal, producer Gene. Gene, how are we doing tonight?
Good to be here.
Good.
Sorry about couldn't make it last night.
We had a lot of people sending me death threats after.
I can imagine.
They're like, this show needs to go now. Get your act together. Doesn't matter what Gene's dealing with. Get him in the goddamn chair and let's go.
I know.
But
I know.
I told them. But on a more serious note, tonight we're going to be pulling back a little bit of that curtain that nobody wants to peel back for some reason. I've been in this community a long time, most of my adult life, I would say. Even, I'd say more than half of my life I've been inside or, enduring inside or watching as close as possible this community, everything that was happening, every documentary, every podcast, and it wasn't until a couple years in of actually doing the show where I started realizing that there was a troublesome pattern and that this pattern existed in the back channels. It wasn't out there on the forefront because in this field, the lecture circuit, the big conferences, the streaming platforms, the congressional lobbying, it's supposed to be about truth, transparency. It's supposed to be about moral courage. And we demand that from our government. We demand it from the gatekeepers in Washington. But what happens when that same problem is embedded inside the very thing that is screaming for it? What happens then is my question. And what happens when fraud, when grift, when power plays, straight up deception, all of it? What do we do when it's running rampant right here in our own backyard? No one wants to talk about it. It seems that they're willing to turn their head as long as it benefits the bottom dollar and their narrative. And again, it's so redundant to me that a community that has built itself on these values has so little of it.
Yeah.
When it really counts.
Yeah. So as you know, so a lot of people know, right? I'm coming up on my first year being embedded here, right? I didn't know what was going on, who's who, and all the rest of it. So that's something that struck me right away. And I began to question myself because it seemed like a really weird thing of this talk about evidence and talk about truth and transparency. But what I heard didn't feel organic, Didn't
Mm.
sound organic. Didn't seem as
Mm.
though this was the way an investigation goes, right? Even if if you want to look at it that way, right? This is what's happening is the public is trying. I've often said it like this. It's like the public is trying to prosecute a case against the government having no interest in being prosecuted or not taking a role in it themselves
You
in
don't
this
say.
in this sort of public prosecution of this case. But it seemed to get away from that, and there was convolution between what's a story, what's evidence, what's information, and what's intelligence, and all of those words are used interchangeably.
We love our buzzwords in the UFO. And again, I don't want to I want to be very clear about this up front so I don't have to say it again. When I talk about the quote unquote UFO community, I'm talking about the larger subset of paranormal, cryptid, crystal ladies. I'm just kidding, but so kind of not kidding. All of it, the
Right.
whole ecosystem of what would you call that? Alternative. What would you call?
Well, so what do they get? You get paranormal, metaphysical, all of these areas. What I've called it, landed on recently, it's the monetization of the pursuit of a truth.
Bingo. Bingo. That's actually a really good descriptor.
I mean, that's what we're doing. What is the product, right? What is it that
Disclosure.
everybody? No, it's the pursuit of disclosure.
Oh, right.
Disclosure is going to be the worst thing that happens to a lot of people.
No more mystery. Well, for boiling it down to a really,
but that's it.
Yeah,
that's it. Look at the way everything is done. It's done to, for another buzzword, right? It's done to monetize the mystery.
It's a huge problem.
It is, right? And how do we see that problem manifest? We see that problem manifest in the personal attacks. We see it manifest in the discrediting, the outing, the doxing. We see it manifest in all of these competitive ways when there is no reason for anybody to be competitive.
Right.
There should be no camps. There should be no competitiveness in this, because if you are somebody with a skill, an experience, a piece of information to bring forward, right, that should be embraced all the way around. Now that doesn't mean there's blanket acceptance. That doesn't mean that it's not worthy of scrutiny, of accountability.
It should be
100%
every time,
right? Every time, everything, every story should get that same level, or we should expect everybody to hold themselves to some standard of accountability.
Right. And that is, I guess, what I'll tell without getting too, I'm not going to name as many names in this part. But the reason that this is happening right now, specifically right now, is because about a year ago, I want to say this very, very upfront again. I'm not picking on contact in the desert. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet.
No, but I mean, I don't, sorry to interrupt you, but I mean, it's because I've talked about this in a lot of other forums, right? And, I make no bones of criticisms of individuals and stories, and some of them are very popular people, and I'm sure we'll get into it throughout the whole thing. And I say it all the time. It's not that I don't like them. It's not that I don't respect what they do or what they've done or all the rest of it. I have some issues about accountability. I have issues about transparency, but it's not an issue with them. It's an issue with the structure that allows it.
That allows it. Yeah.
It is the fundamental problem is that we have incentivized
Mm.
we've incentivized this behavior and this conduct.
And when it gets left unchecked, when it gets actually not even just unchecked, but embraced, then you're going to how many times do we have to go through this fucking circle?
For a community of people, right, who are so concerned about psyops and everything else from the government, they have all been psyoped. They've been psyoped via marketing. They have, they've landed in the camps that they've landed in, oftentimes not by the quality or veracity of the evidence, but by the credential laundering that's done throughout these networks,
right,
of people that aren't transparent about how they work together and everything like that. So, so to your point, I think we're talking about the structure, the architecture, the incentivization of this kind of behavior. And can it be stopped, or can it be changed, or should people just at least be more cognizant of it as
transparent
consumers?
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you a little story. It's a personal story that there's nothing inherently illegal. There's nothing that's inherently you could argue one way or another that it's wrong or right? Sure. This is just my personal experience with contact in the desert specifically, right? Now, and I have often said, even when we took our road trip down to the National Press Club with Vito, where we all started talking about contact in the desert, how many times did I say it's like one of the best things, and it's one of the best places for networking, and it's the best this, it's the best that, it's the world's that. Last year, I went up on stage. I introduced people like Bledsoe, Melinda Leslie. No, it was my first time there. They entrusted me with that, and I thought that was really cool, right? I was like, this place is fucking awesome. It's giving the creator an actual chance to get up on a stage that's way larger than your own. And even if you were doing an introduction for Chris Bledsoe, you had about a minute and a half where I got to be like, hey, this is who I am. This is why I'm introducing Bledsoe, blah, blah, blah. And then, I got off the stage and I ran back to the media room and did all my interviews. Right. So it was there so right before Contact in the Desert, because I had missed the first one when I first started Total Disclosure, I'd missed that first one. And I wanted to make sure that I was there for 2025. So I submitted a request for a media badge. I interviewed this person that had put out a documentary, and unbeknownst to me, this person was embedded in the contact hierarchy. They are best friends with the people that book contacts, media.
Good place to be.
Very good place to be. And this person would often and routinely talk to me about how they would throw that power around to their friends who do the booking for Contact. Mm-hmm. So I knew the second that I began a working relationship with this person, that if it ever fell through, I was fucked. I would never be on that. And I'll tell you the whole thing, because I think it's important what actually happened. And what actually happened was I was paying this person who lives in the UK to edit my podcast. The podcasts, we're doing good, right? Mm-hmm. But we're not there yet, right? And I think I bit off a little bit more than I could chew. The editing, it was great. The person was great at their job. They edit documentaries, yada yada. But then we started this live show together, and that wasn't performing, and it was taking away my time. And there was just a lot of shit happening all at once.
Mhm.
And this person kept asking me, "Oh, you should hire Jamie. I'm sorry, you should hire this person. You should hire this person." Listen, I can't do that yet. And
Sure.
every time I try to have that conversation, like it would just get kicked down the road a little bit further, right? And the editing was great, always paid on time. Actually, in fact, the person was getting fucked by somebody else in the community on a routine basis and often couldn't even pay for food. So I would pay a little bit in advance so that person could get food for the week,
Mm.
right? And I'm not like stroking my ego here just because
Right.
it's for a reason I say all these things.
Yeah.
Because I know after I tell the full story that they are going to spin it on me somehow. And I have all I've made sure I have the documented receipts for what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So anyway, the live show is not working out, but then all of a sudden, this angel investor comes out of nowhere. They're going to fund a documentary.
Mhm.
Oh, shit. I meet with the person on recommendation from the editor I had, who was best friends with the people that booked contact.
Yeah.
And it's not going to take a miracle for someone to figure out who I'm talking about right now.
Yeah.
Right. All they have to do is go back a couple months and see who I was doing a live show with.
Right.
But this person set up a meeting, and I pitched Bob Salas documentary.
Yeah.
Right. I've been working very intimately with Bob. I believe Bob. Contact in the Desert loves Bob Salas. They love Bob there. And when this person pitched the idea, I go, and they were pretty skeptical. They're a skeptical individual to start with.
Yeah.
So that person and I had a conversation like, hey, we're going to go into this documentary, but we're not just going to tell one side. We're going to tell the whole thing, which
Right.
is fair.
Absolutely. Well, so we're right at full transparency, right? I asked you to help out with the documentary that we're filming, right? And that's one of the things that has come up, or that we discussed with the production team, was this: how do we get both sides of the story,
Right.
And what do we put? And the team putting it together was actually shocked when I said, well, I have everything, that I know my own gaps.
Right.
I know in everything that I've been doing here that there are still things that need to be put together. And I know what that is. And I have, the feedback from other people. Now, I don't have anyone who's gone in depth, or, that I could say was truly a critic, in the sense that they could offer any valuable insight, right?
Mm.
Outside of, well, I just don't like it, or I don't like this or that. But I said, let's just do that ourselves. Let's call it out ourselves. The production team, you've heard the story now as we've gone through this. You're the critic too. So
Yeah.
add your own,
Right.
And
so getting to that, I was 100% okay, and Bob was 100% okay with at least raising some of those other sides to it.
Yep.
I end up in the second meeting for this documentary with the investor, and it's just ripping me apart, dog. I left this meeting feeling so shitty about myself for believing Bob Salas, for believing and wanting to make the seminal documentary that would tell people what happened.
Yeah.
Right? That they just ripped into me. Just that he wasn't telling the truth, that Aru had come to this finding, just berated me. And that's all cool. That's all cool. But I backed away. I pulled out of that project, and I said, I can't be a part of this, because you guys are setting up to you're setting up to debunk Bob.
Right.
While I respect your choice to do so, I can't be a part of this. So I stepped back, and I just didn't feel
because there's a
comfortable.
fundamental difference between
Yes,
thoughtful critique, questioning, all of those, there's a difference between that and a hit job.
It was a fucking hit job, dude.
Right. Yeah.
That's what they were pitching to me all of a sudden. And I didn't feel comfortable after I talked to the person who was my editor at the time, best friends with the contact people.
Yeah.
I said, listen, I just got like an hour fuck fest of like me just getting torn apart. I was like, I don't see how we go forward. Like, I can't be a part of this. And we cut ties. And I was like, I just think we're different people. And I knew, again, going back to as soon as I had started business with this person, that if it had ever gone south, I was fucked. I applied for a media badge at Contact this year. Do you think I was accepted?
I'm going to guess no.
I was not.
No.
Now, I do not have proof to say that this person
Right.
did exactly what they told me they would do several times with other people, wield their power at Contact in the desert.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what happened, but I have a sneak in suspicion that and
So
again,
let me see if I can talk you off the
none
line.
of this is bad. Like, none of this is quote unquote illegal. But what I am talking about is this pay to play fucking leveraging inherent gatekeeping that happens with conferences like this. It's the world's largest UFO conference.
Right. So that being said, all right. So I would imagine there's only so many. Was there a limit on like how many journalists were there last year, or how was that managed? Because
you want the truth?
Well,
there was 50 fucking extra guest badges that for people who didn't even show, that just got pushed aside. There was 50 extra last year, and last year was the biggest Contact on record. I remember the booker holding
50 media passes,
50 of them in her fucking hand, holding them up to me going, and I swear on everything I love and everything, Lord, strike me if I'm lying.
So in your opinion,
and everyone was there already.
Right. So in your opinion, we're not talking about a situation.
Oh, we got fucking fired up, man.
Listen, this is, that's why we gotta balance it out, and we gotta walk through it. Right. So, because that is a viable concern, right? There's only so much room there's only so much physical space.
Yeah.
Correct.
Course, yeah.
For
yeah.
holding interviews and things like that. And so I'm sure amongst the people who want to do their podcasts and whatnot, that can become problematic, right?
Absolutely.
I would imagine that organizers don't want to manage the personalities, trying to, and manage the personalities and the egos of the press folk, let's say.
Well, I'll tell you something else.
Yeah.
I was in so well at one point that I had raised concerns about Patrick from Vetted and how he had treated me. They asked me in the staff room, do you want him kicked out? Do you want us to shut this shit down right now?
Yeah.
I said, God, no, please no.
Yeah.
I'm not here to hinder anyone's career.
Right.
I just had a bad experience with him, and I'd watch your back.
Right.
I could have, I guess I could have flipped the switch on that guy right then and there.
Wielded some power there. So
right.
Yeah.
Again, Lord, strike me down if I'm lying, baby.
I hear you. I hear you. And I guess the experience, and I see in the comments people saying they've heard similar about that. So okay, so that's one experience, let's say, that's come forward. What other considerations are there? I mean, the show, this show's certainly grown.
They just don't like me, maybe, and that's okay.
This show's certainly grown, right?
Very much so.
Yeah.
On the audio side, on the video side, we're still not hitting what I'd like to be, but that's, I think, because I need to be a little bit more consistent.
Right.
I also, like, again,
But you didn't get any. I mean, you applied for the media pass. Did you just get a?
twice by accident, and they actually called me out for it. I'll show you the email. They called me out. They said, "Tyler, we got your application," and I was like, "Oh, okay." I didn't.
Yeah.
I just wanted to double check. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, tell you my own experience. I put in when it was announced and when I first went to the website, I put in for information about sponsorship packages and vendor packages and all the rest of it. And it wasn't until there was in the last 2 weeks, there was a post made, and I actually posted on the post, when's this information going out? And then they shared a screenshot of something that had the email, who to reach out to, and all the rest of it. So there was like a form to fill out to make these inquiries, but nobody ever got back to you. And I'm wondering if it's sort of the same thing. Is there just a basic communication gap?
Well, let's dig deeper,
because it seems to be different. It seems to be different people running each different aspect.
And oh my God, there were
all
so many
this.
great people at Contact, like people I met that, like I said, and I still mean it, man. I still mean it. Like, am I a little salty? Of course I am. Of course I am. Why wouldn't I be?
And to their credit, once I reached out, I got all the information, got everything set up, so everybody can expect to see stuff from me out there.
Yeah. And if they don't, we know why. So I'll go a step further. This got me thinking about a larger issue.
Mhm.
Right? Now, again, what happened to me personally is not inherently wrong. I mean, you could argue right or wrong.
It's not exclusive to Contact. It's not
Exactly.
exclusive to the industry. It's not, I mean, I guess I can think back to, corporate days and big events and press pools and stuff like that. And there's very competitive, let's say. I'll at least say that.
Absolutely. So to kind of go a little bit deeper, I started asking myself this question because not only because you got to remember, Contact in the Desert. Now, it used to be held in a place called, and again, I don't want to seem like I'm picking on specifically Contact in the Desert. This is not just a Contact in the Desert thing. You start peeling back the layers and you find who the problems are, right? And we'll get to there. We will get there. Trust me.
Like I said, we want to keep it framed. It's the structure, it's the architecture, it's the incentivization.
It's the monetization of the pursuit of truth, which is a very good way to put it. And I think I might have to use that. But now when I started peeling back the onion a little bit more, as people in the comments are saying, I am not the only one who's had this type of experience. Now, I started digging and I realized that there was a lot more happening in the back channels of the UFO, the pursuit of truth movement, let's call it that sets the stage for who gets to do what, when, where, how, and essentially they're controlling the reach, right?
1000%.
Because they're able to put their finger on the dial and turn it one way or turn it the other way.
Again, that's one of the top things that struck me coming into the community. I've said it once, I'll say it a million times. The worst thing in the world that happened, I'm somebody who does due diligence right before I get deeply involved in business relationships. And there have been times I've done it to varying degrees, and the times I do it to varying degrees are usually the ones where I find I've gotten screwed over, down the line somewhere. And I've done it here as well, trying to look at all the options, who's doing what, right? I mean, this is one of the main things you do. What are the best practices, right? What are the big figures, the big names, and how did they get there? And the more I dove down into that, the more, let's say, it seemed like, again, this was disclosure themed content and nothing to do with actual evidence, nothing to do with just
You're
nothing.
right.
It was just nothing to do with evidence. It
You're
was
right.
just, it was disclosure themed content. And so your story that you started with is sort of reflective of that they didn't want to present both sides of a major case. They wanted to do something that they knew was going to grab headlines.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's the unfortunate thing, because being realistic and reasonable does not make headlines.
No, it doesn't. You have to be eccentric like Billy Carson. You have to be eccentric like Corey Good. You have to be eccentric like David Wilcock. You have to be eccentric like Ron James. You have to be eccentric like Steve Bassett, right? And I don't mean to loop all those names together, but there's the varying. And this is, again, when you start going against the grain to any degree, you're going to accept the fact, or you should accept the fact, that you are going to upset one. Going back to the camp thing,
Yeah.
If you support Elizondo, well, you just upset the Elizondo non-believers, right? We've found a way to put ourselves in these little camps all around, like you said, the UFO, the truth movement, this larger machine that is the search for the existential answers. We've divided ourselves so many times in so many ways that you can't say anything, and it's very reflective of the times. You can't say anything without offending this place or that place.
Right.
So with that being said, I just stopped. Like, I am going to continue doing what I do. And what I do is I don't hold back. If I'm feeling a certain way, I'm authentic about it. Yes, I'm fucking aggravated that I didn't get the press badge. Yes, I'll do you one further. I didn't do my due diligence. I didn't look at who I was getting in bed with. And yes, I was continuing to look the other way until they gave me a reason not to. And that might have been a bad decision on their part, because now I'm not saying I can affect everybody, but I can tell the people around me, which will get out and hopefully make a little bit of a difference, that the people that you think are the ones that are, because they're the ones, by the way, the same ones that are making the documentaries about the grifters are then wielding that fucking power.
Right. Well, I tell the story. I made a.
Can I tell you one more thing?
Yeah.
So the person that was because I want to answer RPK's super chat.
Yeah.
Routinely, I would bring someone up who I thought was a key player. And this person that I was working with would say something along the lines, because again, I'd have to pull transcripts. It was always along the lines of, well, I won't let that happen. That won't happen when I'm there. That will not, I will talk to J and B. Right. I will talk to this. They will not be there. It was matter-of-fact statements when I would be like, oh, this happened, this person, I think you got to watch out for them. Oh, we already know. We're taking care of it. It was almost like speaking with such authority that they might as well been in the boardroom. Right. That's how it felt to me.
Right.
Okay. So I hope that paints a clear version. But even when I said something, because guess another one of Contact's golden child is Kelly Chase. Mm-hmm. Kelly Chase does that show with J. Christopher King.
Right.
You see what happened this week?
Yeah. Right.
J. Christopher Cosby?
Right.
Fucking Jesus Christ. It's everywhere.
But you see, this is
The
again
power.
the power, the incentives.
He runs an experiencer group, Gene.
Yeah.
He tells people how to feel better after being abducted, and he gets on their level. You know what kind of relationship that creates?
Yeah.
A very vulnerable one.
Super. Well, let's face it.
It's fucking crazy
There are a lot of vulnerable people
in this community.
in
Yes.
this community for any number of reasons, and that's not disparaging in any way, because it does run a huge gauntlet of reasons. And I think, I would hope, I know for myself, it's why I get frustrated and upset with it. And it's probably the same thing with you to an extent, because we try to be honest and transparent, and make sure that we're careful with our words, careful with the way things are represented. You do a little razzle dazzle here and there. Yes, of course. Right.
Yeah.
Because there is the reality that people want to be entertained.
This is still entertainment.
Have to be entertained. Right.
But you very much know that this is me. Right.
And in the same way, this is me.
And
right?
we do. Yeah. Maybe we dial it up a little bit. Right.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a little bit more angry.
And as a matter of fact, I'll challenge you on this one.
Okay.
Right.
By the way, we have so much to get to that, like, I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface. No. There are actual court records that we're going to be getting into. I just want people to know that this is just the beginning.
Yeah. I'll just say this just because I want your reaction. Right. So when it's about being real and who we are and everything, Ty, that, well, I'll ask you this. Based on the private time we've spent together, how much do I dial it down? Do I dial the personality and the opinions? How much do I dial it down?
A lot.
Comparatively.
I would say that just as much as I dial it up, you dial it down.
Yeah.
Actually, if not more. If not more.
If not more.
But you know what? You're the one person that I've ever met that has literally just said, yeah, I'm using my skills on the community.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm trying to get somewhere here, and I've been trained to do certain things, and that knowledge doesn't leave me.
Yeah.
Like little things like tipping the fucking valet $100 or whatever it was. Right. Like little shit. You're good at that, and you're always open about why you're doing it. And I find that to be ultimately super refreshing.
Yeah.
But what we do have a problem with is, again, these people that are behind the scenes, seemingly controlling. Now, a big company that comes to mind for me when I
can we just do one thing? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because I know you want to dive into that, but I want to address the super chat that's up right now, because again, this is illustrative of what we were just talking about.
Yeah. And if anyone has we're not gonna be able to get to every single comment. If you have something that you really need or want asked, I hate to do this, but again, I'll be open and honest. Lots of lights that we got to pay for in a whole studio. So if you can send a super chat, it really does help the show. And we're going to be, we're flying people in. We're putting them up in nice places. So again, I am very appreciative. But again, no one has to send anything. If you want, become a member, get early and ad-free access to everything that I put out, everything that we put out. But yeah, go ahead, Gene.
Yeah. So as everyone can see, hey, Gene, can you talk about your scumbag friends docking and circulating dossiers on members of this community? So this is what we're talking about when.
Oh, you have scumbag friends?
We talk right when we talk about the camps and everything else. I think everybody, recognizes what it is, but, I'm happy to call out what I call out, because again, I've addressed it in spaces, and, I'm happy to address it anytime. So, my scumbag friends,
Are they
don't-
talking about DT?
Well, they're talking about, right, the disclosure tonight, Thomas Fessler, Mike Disclosure, RPK, Tupa, issues that they've had through the years.
Okay.
And, you know, this whole your friends and blah, 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 blah. Listen,
Gene doesn't.
I'm on a mission. I have something I am trying to accomplish, right? Now, they are acquaintances online. I have a friendly relationship with them that is very much exclusively been contained to appearing on that format, right?
Mm.
I like the format. I generally like the show. They were one of the first ones to interview me. They, Mike sent my stuff around, allowed me to get a lot of feedback and all of that stuff. I'm very appreciative of that. I'm appreciative when I do have an opportunity to go on there and say something to contribute when I have time. It's a little bit my own entertainment to be able to go on there. The doxing, the dossiers, all of this stuff. I had no idea any of that was going on, right? Because again, I'm going on 1 year. Whatever was happening, and then it was coming in between.
Gene, I gotta
Personally,
ask.
I have no interest in getting involved in any of it. It doesn't have anything to do with me. Do I think it's wrong? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely to put out addresses and all of that stuff.
Not cool.
No doubt. But you know what? I don't control what they do. I don't get paid to be there. It is an outlet for me. And I think anyone can notice when that does happen, I don't get involved, or, I've for a number of circumstances.
But you had no idea that doxing was occurring.
I had, the whole David Gresham. And the first time they brought it up, they were talking about like VA records and stuff. And I was, kind of, again, as a veteran, as somebody who uses the VA, I was like, if somebody's doing that, yeah, that needs to be stopped. That needs to be raised to the VA if that is what is happening. And I was getting a little bit crucified for it and stuff. But, it's this whole, it's this whole idea, like, that who's friends and who's this and that. And I say it here, I say it to everyone. Personally, the stuff I've heard from, RPK and Tupa, when it's not about, just like Mike and Thomas, when it's not about that stuff, I really enjoy them.
They're great.
I think
all of them
super bright, super insightful. It's disappointing to see that stuff degrade to whatever. But and I don't know, and to try and circle it back to the theme of this, I don't know if that's a result of just oil and vinegar or oil and water, mixing, and it's just a clash of personalities. Or is it, is it about this monetization? Is it about the audience retention and the messaging and the alignment to figures? Like, has this monetization of mystery and the incentivization of pursuing the pursuit of disclosure and this disclosure themed content, has that trumped what we should be doing, which is everybody has or is gathered or is gathering or is working on the piece of the puzzle to add to it.
Right.
And so I think that very popular conflict in this space is probably more driven by somewhere, perhaps it's subconsciously or whatever. But you can break it down and it's somewhere driven through this advancing other people's agendas almost. Right.
Right.
I wouldn't even say it's necessarily, even the competition of being amongst themselves. It's the competition amongst that Mike and Thomas, are big Lou supporters and, push forward Lou and this and that, and the other guys aren't. And but it's like you're fighting over somebody else.
So stupid.
That, I mean, but again, it's what, listen,
I
it's
get
what
it.
happens. It happens in businesses. It happens in schools, communities. It
I get
happens
it.
in your neighborhoods.
I just think, I think like Red Panda Koala, I think Tupa, I think they're at their personal best when they are just reporting the news and what's going on, giving their input.
I mean, the analysis, like
they're great at that
analytical
stuff,
minds.
Oh my God, are they good?
Are amazing.
Like they're great researchers.
Yeah.
And I think that it's so easy to get caught up in the drama because it's kind of exciting. It's kind of like you get a little hot and you get people hot and you get, you know what I mean? Like,
and
it's a little addictive.
It's a little addictive. It's all those things. But, again, let's try and rein it back to the subject, right? How much of that plays into or is the result, is the symptom of, let's even try and talk about it in clinical terms. Is that a symptom of the bigger illness when it comes to monetization and, needing to drive that traffic one way or another?
Let's talk about it then. Ready? I got my first example ready. To the Stars Academy of Arts and Sciences. They come out in 2017. This is the group that Lou Elizondo is part of, with Tom DeLonge, with Hal Puthoff, with Jim Semivan, with Christopher Green, Kit Green, and several others, right? Now, they open up and they come out swinging, fucking swinging. And it was exciting.
So now again, I know the name to
TTSA, To the Stars. Right? Yep.
Okay, To the Stars or whatever. So when you say they came out swinging, you mean against other personalities?
No, they came out swinging as in they were like, we are going to lead the charge.
Okay.
On disclosure. We've heard this so many times since then, but we're going to lead the charge on disclosure. But not only that, but we got Tom assembled the Avengers of fucking, like UFO, like black programs and people that like Skunk Works, like, I forget who we had from Skunk. Was it Kit Green is from Skunk Works? Now, guys, let me know in the comments. Yeah. I know you guys are really smart out there right now. So Jim Semivan, CIA, had a UFO encounters, been vocal about it. Hal Puthoff, Stanford Research, right? And several other fucking things. But Bigelow, exactly. So Eric Davis is loosely attached, I believe, but I'm not exactly sure. You have Tom DeLonge, who assembled all these guys. Elizondo, Chris Mellon, the former Steve Justice. Thank you. See, this is what you're great at, man. Fucking great. So Steve Justice and Kit Green. So Steve Justice worked for fucking Lockheed Martin in the Skunk Works division. TTSA says, we're going to build a fucking UFO. And then they purchase meta materials, quote unquote, from Linda Moulton Howe. I believe these are the arts parts, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But TTSA ends up becoming a publicly shared company that you can put stock into.
Okay.
They raised millions of dollars. And pardon me for asking, but can anyone point to anything To the Stars Academy did for return investments? How many? I believe there's actually several cases that are open, at least from one gentleman, where the SEC is now looking back into TTSA. They think it was a pump and dump. Now, this is all allegedly.
Right.
But TTSA did, in fact, sell metamaterials to the U.S. Army.
Yeah.
So they were at one point working shit.
Mm.
I'm just not sure where it went wrong, because they were going to have this whole media division. They were going to have this, like, we're going to build a UFO fucking division, and we're going to bring disclosure in. But then when Hillary lost, everything fucking crumbled, and it crumbled quick. It crumbled quick because, again, this is when Tom was talking to Podesta, and then the WikiLeaks DNC thing happened.
Yeah.
All that information came out. And actually, Tom was talking to the missing General McCasland at that same time. McCasland was his entryway, his gatekeeper into the people of the Black Budget.
Was Harry Reid still alive at that point?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's why it all fell. I mean, because again, you're saying
you see all the same people. NIDS going to TTSA, going to.
There you go.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. No. Listen, I've run this several times, that there's essentially the same 12 people who these things continually revolve around, or seem to be included in there. And the issue that's always been forefront in my mind that I never really hear a lot of detail on are the financial entanglements.
Boom.
Right.
And that's the biggest, again, everything that we've talked to date, up until, not to date, everything that we've talked about up until now has not been inherently illegal.
Right.
Actually, except the last thing. That was, if SEC is getting involved, it might get a little illegal.
I mean, right. That's the whole thing. There's not,
but
we're not talking about anything or making an accusation that things were illegal, but there are a lot of questions.
There's so much gray.
A lot of questions that one would normally expect that to be answered or to be addressed that never are. So I'll give you, some of my favorites actually has to do with that whole NIDS. It's the timeline between NIDS and OSAP and the Skinwalker Ranch books and, all the way through Knapp's 2025 testimony. Right. So, I mean, you've been to Congress and maybe this is something that's done up front, that's done behind the scenes, or you can, I know when you testify before Congress, you have to do a disclosure of your financial entanglements into the things that you were testifying on.
Yes.
So if we go back to NIDS and Bigelow and OSAP and Skinwalker and the books and all of that. First of all, there's I'm still not clear on a lot of the timing, particularly for the people who are government employees, and when they did these commercial ventures. I'm not so sure about, again, the disclosure of the financial entanglements in that September hearing, because you have Knapp testifying to the veracity of the OSAP program and these individuals, but he did have a commercial interest in there in several ways. He was the only reporter who had access to OSAP. He co-authored books through the years with those same people.
Colb Kelleher, the Lakatskys.
Right, that is not inherently an unaffected witness.
Right?
Because you in a way he gave the materials. You need mine there?
I was gonna say, this thing's fucking pissing me off, man.
Just throw it back. He was involved, the materials he had were instrumental in Harry Reid going and getting the funding for the program that was sole source contracted to Bigelow.
To Bigelow. Well, no. It did go up for a bid. But it's hard to argue that the bid wasn't just up for bid because they wanted to make it seem like it was.
Right.
When Bigelow was already retrofitting his facility to accommodate metamaterial.
And he was doing it before the thing was even, published. And again, listen, I did government contracting for a bit, right? And as I was set up as a service disabled veteran owned small business specifically so that certain contracts that everybody knew who they were going to be awarded to, that the subcontract on that set aside went to a company they were already comfortable with. And so that's, they can play ignorant all they want. That's the way it's done. Everybody is aware of it. Right. So, even to try and pretend for the sake of neutrality,
So,
to even pretend that there was anyone else who was going to get the contract is just, as what is it, The Princess Bride. There's a scene where he says, where men of action lies do not become us. Right. So that's one of those situations. So, there is so when you do that, and then you got and then you figure in the idea that the business ventures continue in different, it's like you got a bunch of people and you mix and match them and create a new venture and then and then pop it off.
So I see where you're going. That's something I never even thought about, is testifying to Congress as it stood as the only journalist with access to that program, now testifying to Congress. And let's just be open and honest. Members of Congress like Burleson, right to their faces saying they're heroes.
Well,
to Corbell,
and we know
to Knapp,
right? They
Burchett.
depend on them. They get their opinion. So
they're the ones seating people next to Congress in Congress's floor. And let's make no mistake.
Exactly. And so we have this situation.
The definition of gatekeeping.
Never mind gatekeeping. You know what that's called? Shadow lobbying. Because there's a situation is developed, right, where you have people who have financial interest and financial entanglements and financial incentives to have Congress take certain actions. It's like insider trading in a way, to boil it down for the layman. Yeah. It's
like insider trading. It's giving veracity because it's now you're speaking to it in Congress. You're validifying it by getting it entered into congressional records and speaking on it in authority in a place like that. Naturally, the next book by Lukatsky and Knapp, now it can be as told in Congress.
Right. It gets
stamp of approval.
It gets it not only gets headlined that way, but again, and that's what makes this whole world that
pay to play
in, weird, because you have these people who not only have the financial interests, but they also, again, are supposed to be journalists, which is supposed to give some degree of neutrality and impartialness on the subject. Even though they're passionate about the subject, they still sort of frame themselves as journalists, but you're advising contract. And not only that, you are bringing people in to meet them, and you are bringing people forward for them to interview. And these people are also now in this ecosystem of, and whether it's being part of the disclosure themed content that they're generating, and they're somehow being compensated for that, or whether they have themselves a product that is being marketed, and it is through those relationships within the marketing that feeds it in. You know, there's a reason probably that Steve Bassett is the only, he prides himself on being the only registered lobbyist.
Yeah.
The fact is, they're all lobbyists, and they're all trying
They're just
to
not
influence.
registered. They're
just not-
APAC.
They're just not registered. And
Whoops.
they're making money based upon the borrowed authority, or the implied authority, the implied credential that having that conversation. How many times have you heard Corbell, with I talk, the Congress calls me, the White House called me, da 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 da, right? That's number one. It's in line with his entire history of credential laundering off of other
I've
people.
done it,
but
you know what? And again, I've done it
yeah,
to a degree, but I'm always very open about it. Like, I have no fucking place. Like, what I do is I facilitate stories.
right.
And I was able to bring Salas into brief multiple members of Congress. I do have multiple member of Congress phone number.
Yeah.
But I'm not gatekeeping. I'm not like, why
Right.
I brought Salas in to brief them. They were stunned at what he had to say, but he didn't end up in any chair to testify.
Right. But you're also not. Salas is available to anybody who wants to talk to
Right.
him.
I'm not his
Anyone who calls Bob Salas decides for himself that he's going to talk to you. Right.
Right.
You're not dropping, constant. You're not
Salas related content,
related revelations,
right?
And shit
updated
like
shit
right.
to say.
While,
yeah, I get where you're
selling your t-shirts and your coffee mugs and your
right.
Your swag and shit like that.
And it just the Bob Salas t-shirt that I would make would be, it would be Bob, and it would be him on the phone with the guy upstairs saying, "That is the first call. And call me when something real happens." Like,
right.
Dismissing it.
Right.
That's the shirt. So yeah, I get what you're saying.
And that becomes question when there's others of these whistleblowers who, not just the whistleblowers, but again, the media figures themselves, who are not held accountable, right? I mean, and listen, I really don't watch any of the other shows, so I don't know, but I know, like, when I sit here with you, as we're sitting across from each other, contrary to what it looks like. Thank you.
Isn't that crazy? I can make it look like two different places.
Yeah.
I said that before we started rolling. I go, gee, it looks like we're in two different sets, but like, if we had we should have done a wide shot.
Yeah.
We should have had a little wide shot that came out and showed both of us, but there's too much shit on the table.
Yeah.
But so that's that's an avenue I didn't even think about. And I'm sure we're going to come back to that, but I want to talk about something that is, okay. This is where we start getting into the real, like, problem, and where we again have to choose our words carefully, guys. So please bear with us. I'm probably going to talk a little bit slower. I tend to ramp up and get excited. So to kind of slow it down, just take a breath. We're just going to take a minute break,
because it's also complex.
It is complex.
Yeah.
And not everything's cut and dry. So this is why I wanted you here. And I didn't do it alone last night, right? Because I was hopped up and ready to go.
That's right. I get the straight jacket under the table.
Yeah.
I got my sprayer with water right here. So I
can
spray face with water.
So we're gonna take a minute break. We got the ad. We gotta pay the bills. And yeah, we'll be right back. We're really going to start getting deep into it, guys. So buckle up. The next part is going to be uncomfortable. I will play it. I didn't even show Gene how to do it. So we will be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere. Just 90 seconds. This episode of Total Disclosure is brought to you by Good Feels Cannabis Seltzers. And I'll be honest, this is one of my favorite partners that we've ever had on the show. As I've given up alcohol, I'm very open about this on the show, and I think a lot more people choosing that same path. So if you're looking for something that can truly replace alcohol in any setting, whether you're unwinding after a long day of research, hosting friends, or just want to stay clear-headed and in control, Good Feels delivers a completely different kind of experience. It starts with their 12-ounce stubby bottles of cannabis-infused seltzers. They're crisp, clean, zero sugar, and 0 calories. And they're designed to give you a smooth, fast-acting, elevated feeling without the crash, without the hangover, and without the downsides of alcohol. And if you're more than an at-home mixologist, Good Feels also has fast-acting beverage enhancers. You can add them to literally anything. Sparkling water, mocktails, whatever you like, and create your own customized experience. This isn't about checking out, it's about tuning in, staying present, and upgrading the way that you kick back and relax. And right now, listeners of Total Disclosure get 20% off their order. That's getgoodfeels.com for 20% off exclusive to this audience. Good Feels Cannabis Seltzers. Replace the alcohol, keep the experience, stay in control. Now back to the show. Oh, I think I recorded that last part with like a shitty microphone.
In the bathroom.
I was like,
when you
I was like, back to the show. I forgot I needed to do the voiceover for it.
Yeah.
Actually, this is for off camera. I built this. Never mind.
Yeah,
The studio's doing great. We got a great episode coming this weekend, though. Coming up, filming this weekend. I'm excited about it. I mean, we can't say what it is or anything.
This next week. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we can't say what, but
I forgot today's.
I'm really excited for it. So again, this thing with I don't want to keep picking on contact, but that got me digging a little deeper. And I found some things that jumped out at me. And I can't say I was even surprised. But what we've essentially found, I'll say we because I've implored your help on this, but essentially what we found is when peeling back the layer, and I guess maybe preface this with the statement of second chances.
Yeah.
Let's just say it right up front.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. I think you might word it better.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you said, there are anybody in their life who faces different challenges and finds themselves in any number of unpleasant situations over the course of their lives, either individually or through a loved one. I talk myself, my father was an old school gangster. He was in and out of jail a few times, did 10 years in a federal jail for racketeering. And
yeah, no one's squeaky. Like my father went to prison, served his time and is now like a super upstanding citizen.
Yeah. And I've got a whole, very interesting family history. As I tell the story, we were in Vegas at the Mob Museum and I was telling stories about 4 people, that hanging around my uncle's house, and I wound up having a crowd around me like I was a tour guide.
Yeah.
That familiar. So everybody's entitled to a second chance. Everybody is, and particularly people that serve their time and, come out of incarceration or addiction or whatever it is. People come, out of it and they deserve every opportunity to make a living, be a productive member of society, be a contributor to society if they choose so. But, we can't ignore the fact there's stigma around it. We can't ignore, and I don't think anyone that's in that position would necessarily disagree that they perhaps have a higher standard to live up to, right? And I give the example, just different but similar. When my son immigrated, he was 9 years old. He didn't speak a word of English. Threw him right into school, threw him into baseball. And I would tell him, I'd explain to him that, he had to work all the harder, because being the little foreign kid, being the kid who only had a few words, people were already not going to expect much of him, and that he needed to be ready to be held to a different standard to a degree, or he needed to be ready to exceed the expectations. And so I think, that is a truth and a reality that everybody should be acknowledging. And so to raise issues only really becomes relevant when the behaviors aren't much of a stretch,
right,
from the things that people have perhaps gotten in trouble for in the past.
Yes,
Right. So
I agree.
it would be like, again, you might not, and I'll pick on you. You may no longer be an addict, but are there addictive behaviors that you still exhibit that
Smoking, yes, absolutely.
right? So,
Yeah,
I mean, there's a
yeah.
case to be made where, I could just say,
People rarely change.
right, you're still an addict. You
Change.
just, I used to say it, and we'll get crucified for this, like about born again Christians, right? That in my experience, everyone that I knew had come out of like horrible situations, addiction, and super abusive relationships, and all of these things. And I said to somebody one day, I'm like, you just kind of traded one addiction for another, right? You traded this for the Jesus addiction, and now you're, and that's why that's all we hear about from you, and da 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 da.
Even in the recovery community, that's what happens, right? There's the people that we call them dry drunks, right?
Yeah.
They get addicted to, they don't actually change anything about their personality. And I know we're like side questing here right now, but this is setting something up, because it really is important to preface that people do and always will, at least in my opinion, have the right to rehabilitate and to overcome challenges in their lives that may have been circumstantial, may have not been, whatever the reason, short of a few things like the child, anything to do with a child, murder,
right.
Short of that, like capital punishment offenses,
Right.
I'm willing to give anyone a second chance, right? And have had them myself. My notorious. Like, again, I like to just be open and honest and be authentically raw and authentic, almost to a fault. Because again, I know the reason I come out and say that I was an addict. Alcohol was my drug of choice, but hand me a candy bag of pills, and I was gonna go down.
Right.
I was gonna go down swinging.
There. Right.
But yeah, certain addictions haven't left me, and certain have. There's dry drunks. There's people that get addicted to AA. They just switch the addiction, or then they get addicted to sex or the gym. They call them healthy addictions.
Right.
And it's like, okay, but it's the mindset. There's one type of person, and there's another. One that doesn't have that, and one that does. Right? We're wired just a little bit differently.
Right. And so when we're talking, when we're talking about, some of the cases which we're going to be talking about, where there are, individuals involved in the community who have convictions for fraud, that have issues, that have risen to the level of legal action, several legal actions, patterns of
And
legal
years in prison.
actions. And you know, then let's face it. So, you know, there's already enough questions when it comes to legitimacy in this community, right? Just on the subject matter itself.
Boom. Just like your kid raised to a higher standard inherently because it's on the fringes,
Right.
right?
Right.
We're already dealing with the stigma. We're already dealing with this intensified scrutiny,
Right.
right? Because you're challenging people's belief systems.
Right.
You're challenging their religion. You're challenging their reality,
Yep.
right? That's something that again, time, place, credibility.
Exactly, because this is, you know, this is the situation that we find ourselves in, right? That these people are within this larger network of the public facing disclosure community
Movement, yeah.
figures, right? The people everybody's looking to and the people everybody are listening to about, you know, to make judgments of the who's who, who's what should I be following, what do I, you know, they are influencing the decisions and conclusions people are coming to in many ways about the veracity of evidence or testimony or whatever. And those same people are the ones who are then talking to the congressmen who are then going out and creating legislation, or they are going out and saying, I want to see this and I want to see that, and all the rest of it. And there is a vulnerability that exists, a very real vulnerability, because now we are into the political arena of optics. And we are in a midterm cycle. And there are people that are fundamentally secure, let's say, in their seat for the most part, but some of them have primary challengers. Some of them have for the party. Some of them have opponents from the opposing party. And, you know, some of these people we would probably want to keep their seats because they're, you know, they're doing the work and whatnot. But this whole network is set up that should somebody decide to take advantage of it, they will never survive the optics.
Never.
They will never survive the optics with the mainstream constituency, because that's all it's going to take is, do you know Representative so-and-so and all of their UFO stuff that they're talking about? Well, they're second to third degree getting advised by people who have convictions, convicted felons, convicted
Boom.
fraudsters, kiss your fucking political career goodbye. And the worst part about it is that the people who are those intermediaries who should be the filters either are too stupid to understand those optics, or they are too self-centered and concerned about their own monetization and their own influence that they're blind to it, or they're hubris to think that they can talk their way out of it. They might be able to do it in the community. They're not going to do it with the rest of the voters of that, because let's face it, you know, let's face one reality here. For
public opinion is fucking brutal.
For all of these senators and House reps, right? This is a small community to begin with. How many of their constituents that actually cast a vote, right? Because you might be the most popular person in the UAP community, but if only 0.02% of that community is amongst your
actual constituency can vote,
who are going to actually go cast a vote.
Doubt it's even that.
That's right.
0.2%. I doubt it's even that.
I doubt it's even that too.
I'm thinking maybe even less than 1.1. Like,
0.01.
Yeah, 0.0, whatever the lowest fucking, whatever just above zero is.
Whatever is just enough
There's like 10
that you could count it.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're in like
You're
the
probably at that
hundreds.
minimum. Yeah, you're possibly at that minimum.
Unless you're like Luna, right, in Florida, and there's a huge like, I don't know, there's you got
I mean, yeah,
you got like the
Long Beach
Clearwater
area.
area,
Right.
dude. They're all fucking Scientologists, and then like, this is sidetrack. So anyway, all that being said, because and Gene brings up the bridge. You just brought up like the kind of the big picture there, like what it all means, where it all could go wrong, right? From an optics point, where it is going to go wrong.
It is going wrong.
It's only a matter of time, especially as as this topic goes more mainstream. You're gonna see more real journalists. Sorry to say it, but by the standards of like the Associated Press, real quote unquote real journalists, as they start to flood the zone, as this becomes more mainstream, you're going to start to see anyone who's grifted or pulled one over, or those people are going to be the fucking first to be weeded out.
Well, and I think
the Greers, the Billy Carsons who changed his name. If someone could pull it up, Jamie, pull it up. Just kidding. Gene's Jamie, but we're actively talking. Let me pull it up. I have it right here. I saved it. So William Tyrone Carlson, aka Billy Carson. Billy had been arrested for stealing money and grifting. And this is a post. I checked the veracity. Everything does seem to line up. But he became pretty famous, Billy Carson, after he changed his name to Billy Carson. So he did that specifically. Can you guess why he changed his name?
Probably because there was so much press with the bad name, with the other name.
Right. So he changes his name to avoid detection for the criminal stuff. And then has this like second coming or second wind where he then takes like this little course at Harvard, becomes a Harvard, everyone, how like every pizza place is the best, right? Like Boston's best. You're like, how the fuck has every pizza place been voted the best, right? It's not illegal to say you're the foremost expert on ancient scrolls and you're trained at Harvard. When, you know what I mean? It's like conflating your actual background to pump yourself up as this authority expert. You calling yourself authority expert, and it's not, and maybe you speak well, maybe you articulate very well, maybe you can retain, but then that harrowing day comes when you get put up against a fucking real expert. And that's what happened to Billy Carson. He got put up against a real expert in, I think it was Wesley Huff, who's like a legitimate fucking like Bible scholar, like trained his whole life kind of thing. Within minutes, dismantles like fundamental. Dude, Gene, it is a take down.
I'll have to watch it because I enjoy watching that stuff.
It is so. He just goes, boom, your source, he like the heart of like the Billy Carson ancient shit. And now Billy had just come off a crazy run. He was doing Rogan, right? He was doing all these podcasts. People were like, this guy's fucking great. He can talk. He's witty. He's a person I can learn. It's a great optics, right? Let's not beat around the bush, right? There's not a lot in this community for some reason. At least it's all old white guys for some reason. And it's weird, but that's how it's become. So
I can tell you why that is.
All the stars aligned for Billy until they fucking didn't. Until they didn't. And Wes dismantles him. The guy goes on this tirade, right? This tirade of like delusional behavior where he's sending out, and this is Billy Carson, he's sending out like cease and desists and like threatening legal action, showing up to people's houses at 3 a.m., serving them like legal papers that could have just been left in the mailbox, like odd behavior. And it's all caught on camera. And now you're seeing that with Kelly Chase. You're seeing, again, I'm just drawing some parallels here, but Billy's just my first opening argument.
Yeah.
TTSA is my opening argument. Billy's my continuation. God forbid we get to Dr. Stephen Greer.
Right.
God forbid. And I kind of just want to skip over that part.
Right.
I think everyone here understands, right?
Well, yeah.
Do we need to go into this one?
Again, you've got to look at the incentive systems and the structures that that people operate within and under, because that'll give you a clue on motivation. So listen, I go through this with Natalia with the opera, right? Natalia,
all right, don't bore people too much with your fucking opera. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, but again, because it goes into probably relatable parts of
it's the hierarchy you're talking about, right? Yeah.
Right. She so she has a team of people. Each one serves a different role and has a different expertise that she utilizes in order to, again, round out her performance and talent and skill. But before that, she was very much like, oh, I go to this teacher, I go to this coach, and they say this, and this one says this, and everybody, it's like everybody wants to put their own fingerprint on what I'm doing and whatnot. And I'd say to her, and then we started, I started learning about like the competitions and the things that all have. And you'd see there's a vocal coach who is on the faculty of a university, right? So we can say it that way. A person on the faculty of a university is also a voice coach, right? Then they are also on the panel of competitions, and then they also are with the local opera company. So if you come from outside of that system, right, what are the odds, regardless of how good you are, that you are assessed fairly against the students of these people? Because if you're if you're the student of the college professor and you take voice lessons from this
pay to play,
right?
Pay to play.
And then she says, enter this competition. And if you don't win that competition, are you going to continue to retain that person as your coach? If you don't get into the company that they're affiliated with, then are you going to continue to give them your $125, a week for your lessons, because you're not even good enough to get into the thing that they do? So it's almost the same thing here.
Yeah, you can't be the talent acquisition as well as the judge, like the actual, you know what I mean? The judge who decides, and then as well as like human resources. You can't play all those roles.
Right. So I'm searching for evidence. I'm searching for people with evidence. I'm
also the evidence.
I'm right. I also have the evidence.
Yes.
And I'm also going to platform the evidence. So what is the motivation then of...
Did we lose one?
Yeah, we lost one. I heated it up. What is the motivation then for an individual like that to look at anything other than what they generate through their own echo chamber and echo system? And the answer is there is none, because it inherently begins to violate their entire business model.
It's on.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, there we are. All right.
She's a bit, no, that's the new one. That's the A7C.
Yeah.
That's on you. But
But you see what
I see what
I'm
you're,
saying?
I
It's
see what
like
you're saying.
you've and then with to the Stars Academy with the people involved in that and all the rest of it, it is this constant the it's a circle of validation, right? I mean, we can do it amongst ourselves. You can tell me I'm the greatest evidence you've ever seen, and I can tell you you're the greatest broadcaster I've ever seen, and we can just have this mutual admiration society.
Yeah.
And do that, but is that serving the greater purpose that we're
Right.
here even talking about?
I see. And so next up is the biggest part of this. And it is, and I'm sure everybody is, because this is probably the hardest thing to navigate right now, is how to unveil this. So I think I'm just going to do it. I think I'm just going to rip off the Band-Aid. So guys, this is the fraud scheme. And again, we've talked about a few already to kind of get the appetite for the types of people that have wiggled their way into positions of power and then used said power to essentially create this monetization, like you said, and inherent grift. I don't like that word grift. I really don't. It's very much just like whistleblowers overused, right? But this inherent leverage that you get in positions of power when you become the authority figure, right? So when you become the Joe Rogan, then, and I'm using comedy as an example, like when you become Rogan and you have the comedy mothership, then it's a little different. I think he does it the way you should, where it's like open mic and like you just go there, go to this yourself, you show what you got and you're either liked or not. That's how it should be. Right. But in this case,
that's what we need to do.
But in this case, someone's the bouncer at the door and they're choosing to let certain micers go up and certain micers not. So that's what we're dealing with, with this particular one. Now, the fraud scheme from people probably know Pursuing X.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a fraud scheme.
No, not Pursuing X specifically. But everyone knows the company Pursuing X and what they do in the UFO community. They're
so they are a marketing company.
I was gonna say they're marketing and advertiser.
Marketing advertiser. They organize events, right? Which is fantastic.
Great,
right? We need that. They are focused on the community. They have found that to be their niche. And it's a good niche because they're pretty much the only ones who are doing it, who are giving that attention. And to the point you were getting to, and it's not something that they hide, but it's certainly also not highlighted, perhaps or discussed as much as it should be, maybe considering this whole context that I talked about earlier. But they are a felon-owned company.
Yes.
The two founders had fraud convictions for security, essentially like a pyramid type scheme.
Yeah. So what they were doing, and this is Lori Moriarty and her husband, and they were essentially. So we'll start with Lori, one of the founders of Pursuing X. And again, we did preface this with we do believe in second chances, but listen to what we have to say here, because the crimes itself that were committed, I guess we'll get there. But she was sentenced to 10 years in prison with a restitution ordered of close to $500,000, probation 7 years following the prison term. So she probably just got off probation. I mean, probation. And they entered a guilty plea in Maricopa County Superior Court for 1 count of fraud, 1 count of theft, 1 count of security fraud, 2 counts of forgery. Why I bring this up specifically is because, again, with a community that is built on transparency, truth.
Well, so
it's almost like,
let me see if I can summarize it, right? So when I was inside the oil and gas industry, obviously, you'd have a lot of background checks, right? All the companies need to do background checks on all employees. And the company had policies. Some of these oil and gas companies had policies about convictions and,
you can't work at a fucking bank if you've committed fraud.
You've been an embezzler,
like,
right? So I used to say the same thing. Now, again, we're talking about blue collar jobs, laborers, and this and that. It's like in oil and gas, if you're in one of those jobs and you don't have a conviction for something, right? People kind of look at you sideways, like, what do you mean? Like there's something wrong.
Shouldn't you be in an office, boy?
Right. Yeah, exactly. But we'd also say, what we would recommend on the security side of the house when it came to that is you had to look at each case individually. And just as you so eloquently highlighted, right? If you had a conviction for embezzlement, you should not be working in the purchasing department. If you had a conviction for arson, you should probably not be a welder, right? There were certain things
that are just kind of a given.
That cause too much exposure potentially for the company.
And for a repeat offense.
And
it's a liability.
And again, it's the sad thing when we got to talk about the optics and the reality of rehabilitation and things like that.
It does suck.
It is one of those things, right? That the company isn't even necessarily doing it because they're afraid you're going to be a repeat offender. They're doing it because if something goes wrong, then it becomes an unavoidable negligence. So even if the mistake is honest, sometimes
they could turn around and put the finger on you. You shouldn't have put me in this position.
Well, either that or the victims of it say, how did you put a person like that in that position?
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's 3 different optical angles you can look into that.
Right. So it's not an unfair question to raise.
Right. Especially when you sold unregistered securities for a purported debt collection company called Vector 90. I think it was called Vector 90. And the Arizona law, it requires securities of this type to be registered and to be a licensed business. Lori failed to inform investors that Vector 90 was not licensed and the securities that were not registered. And when you boil that down, essentially what happens is people are investing into your company and you're not telling them that you're not a legit thing.
Right. They're putting their trust
in you,
the product,
and the product
the product that you are putting forward
is
a true product,
thing.
Right. I mean, in the most,
you're essentially operating on your word at that point.
Right.
So again, we talk about continued criminal activity because it doesn't stop there, sadly. Because in September 2006, what would be called the ACC, or the Arizona Corporate Commission, they issued a permanent cease and desist order requiring that $225,000 in restitution and a $50,000 fine, prohibiting Lori and her husband from controlling any security selling entity until that money was paid. And the restitution and fine remain, at least currently, unpaid. So that money has not been put, essentially, as far back as 2006, the money has not been put back since.
Yeah, I mean, that would have to be confirmed. So that's still
That would be in the realm
seemingly-
of,
yeah.
okay. And at least court records show that while on release, pending trial in that same securities fraud case, she was employed at a smaller Phoenix business where she physically stole $25,000 by forging approximately 30 checks and on the company's bank account, depositing proceeds into accounts that she controlled through proxy. Now, I'm not an expert here, but that's probably something that you shouldn't do when you're on trial for security exchange. Again,
and so the illustrative point.
yes, I guess
The illustrative point is that,
and her husband's name's Michael. Sorry.
when you have individuals who have a record of poor judgments, even in the face of adverse actions, piling those on, right? And with all that being said, that doesn't mean that the experience has not significantly changed their behaviors and their interests and all the rest of it. So again, none of this is to imply that any of that is what's happening. What it calls into question, though, is that we're getting into areas of the entire ecosystem of what it is that they do. Because it's one thing to put on a conference and deliver what's being paid for, right? So you deliver, the people pay for advertising and promotion, and they pay for their tickets, and they pay for their
stay at the hotel,
the entry fees, that's sort of outside the scope, and so that's that's all good.
That's all well and good,
right?
yeah.
That's all well and good. Can you say, geez, is my credit card information safe?
Safe, yeah.
Yes, that's a valid question. Given a circumstance where the pressure is on, if there's financial pressure, if they expand to thing, if they make a bad business decision, does that then mean all of a sudden there's going to be little things here and there?
Well, I would implore,
because that's generally what happens. So
I would implore anyone that is working with them to look. I'm sorry, I would.
Yeah, but and this is what we're talking about.
Not to look, and I'm not trying to blow anyone up here.
Right.
I'm just saying, something doesn't feel right about this.
Well, see, where it starts to not feel right to me is where it gets into the rest of the marketing services.
Okay, so why don't you explain? Did you try at one point to get did you try to have them represent you and stuff?
So
they represent a lot of people. Like Linda Moulton Howe was their first client, by the way.
So
that was a huge name.
Yeah.
So they handled all Linda's stuff. And then they slowly came on the scene, right? It's just weird to me how they came on the scene. It's like you either end up at the UFO community two ways, one of two ways, or I guess one of three ways. You have an experience.
Mm-hmm.
You then you can't, you dedicate the rest of your life or yada, yada, yada. You have a defining moment that something changes in you where whether it's a case that you believe in or someone comes to you with evidence, like one of those kind of things where you don't actually have the encounter,
right?
But you believe because you've been given that you've been proven to shot beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's real. Or it seems that you get here because you want to I hate to say this, prey on people's want to believe.
Well, it's again, the incentive structures exist to monetize the pursuit of the truth.
Because you can't prove everything.
Answers.
Like, it's
Right.
the only topic where there's so much gray.
Mm-hmm.
Like in mathematics, like, yeah, I mean, maybe I'm bringing up stupid examples here, but like in everything outside of this, like it's a black and white kind of deal.
Yeah.
But with the existential, like, is there life after death?
Right.
I get like, or, you know, do cryptids exist? I could tell you I'm a fucking werewolf.
Right.
And like, you know, give you some evidence or details. And you know what I mean? Like, that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah,
Inherently, you're
exactly.
going to attract people that are.
And if you want to tell people you're a werewolf and you want to spend money with somebody who's going to get you in front of as many people as you can to tell that story that you're a werewolf, right? You can go to any marketing PR firm and they'll set you up and try and get you on whatever shows they get you on and all the rest of it. And so again, nothing wrong with that.
That's what you're
fundamental, right? Nothing fundamentally wrong with that as a line of business, right? That is a perfectly,
it's pretty cool, actually.
Pretty cool, right? It's a perfectly legitimate line of business. I've got clients who want me to get them out there.
Yeah.
Right. And get their name out there. My experience, you know, to get back to your question, was somebody who is a creator let me know this group exists. And they were telling me this because of the struggles I was facing in seemingly to, you know, kind of not be able to break the ice with anybody, so to speak. And we lost something there. I think we slightly, hold on. Ty's working on that. So we'll just keep the audio. Oh, there we go. We're good. There we go. And so this person was saying, they said, well, you know what the deal is? There's this company and a lot of their clients, particularly like their DC based clients, have this email chain and they all sort of share who they're going to elevate and who they're going to, you know, kind of start passing around and working the network and blah, blah, blah. And that is a result in part of that relationship with the marketing company between all of them. Right. So I reached out a few times, finally took a phone call to kind of, you know, get the deal of what's going on. And again, very pleasant conversation. I found it interesting. She was trying to actually talk me out of using marketing services a little bit, kind of. Yeah.
Who did you meet with? Did you meet with?
I'm just saying I spoke with one of those two people.
Oh, okay.
And, you know,
so pleasant,
but again, kind of struck me as, was trying to deter me from seeking that kind of service.
Interesting.
Yeah. And again, I think some of it has to do with a series of events that led up to that, that involve people who I know are involved with the company. So if this email chain did exist, you know, it all kind of falls into place and make sense. Now I will say, like, at one point later, so I kind of called, I was waiting on sort of a proposal, which never came. And I didn't expect it was going to come, but then I just called and said, oh, I've decided to go in a different direction. And then not long after that, got another phone call, just, oh, have you reconsidered and you know, follow up, which, you know, I didn't take anyway, because by that time I'd sort of.
So as soon as you said
all the due diligence.
As soon as you said you were going to go another way, they asked.
No, it was probably a few weeks later as I was started making more noise and started getting a little more
Vocal
embedded.
and yeah.
There was a series of other meetings that I had around that with people I knew or had a good indication had some relationships. And even from those other meetings, they seemed more like attempts to put me in a situation that would perhaps control the things I was saying or directions I was going in. But you know, all that being said, then you've got to kind of then take it back to this whole idea of the ecosystem, right? That we've got like the General McCaslin and the missing scientist case going on now, and they are looking for evidence.
Yeah.
If people started coming forward with evidence that was being marketed, how do you think that would inform this investigation? That if there was a campaign for one piece of evidence over the other piece of evidence, that would seem very strange, would it not?
Not only would it seem strange, it would seem like it's downright. I mean, there's no other way to say it. I mean, it's downright. It's the opposite of everything we stand for.
I mean, it's, but we allow it to stand here. But we accept this idea now that evidence is again based upon
the person bringing it forward,
the credential, the elevation that's given by a certain group, a limited group, begin to elevate individuals and or stories, and they begin to amplify those things, and then the same ones all appear at the events that we've bought a ticket to just go hear the same thing. Now we're going to hear it live,
repackaged as a lecture or a workshop or a skywatch,
right, or a documentary soon to be released. Any of these things are what's supposed to be evidence
based,
truth,
investigative,
is been packaged into a product to be amplified. And even with that, you can say,
the budget, they're choosing what they think is the best, the newest. But I will say this: I was told that Contact in the Desert, that the tracking, the UAP detection and tracking summit, this conference, that conference, what they do is they have their finger so on the pulse,
right,
so on the pulse,
so
on the pulse, that every year they have only the most important people in the field at that time. I implore you to check the 2025 speaker list for any of these conferences. But let's use Contact as an example. They have the most. Put that up against 2026.
Right.
There's like 4 differences.
Right. Well, and put it against the products that are being the summits and everything else.
You just nothing inherently illegal about this part of it. But what they're doing, do you know how much a ticket?
Though.
But yeah, but do you know how much a ticket to Contact costs? Oh, yes. You do. Oh, you do.
Oh, I do.
What does it cost? For what is the, say I'm the biggest fucking UFO dude, right?
There's the five.
I actually don't know the prices, but I know they're crazy.
the 5-day all inclusive, which included your meals, was like $1,500.
1,500. Is that the hotel and everything?
No, that's everything to do with the conference, except including the meals. And then the next lowest level was like 8 something, I think. Because I was like, oh, all right, so it's like $100 a day for me.
How does that compare to like, I don't even know how that compares. Like, have you ever heard of Live Nation?
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
You have?
Yeah.
That's what Pursuing X feels like, right? Is like Live Nation. That's what it feels like to me, is like they've got this monopoly on who gets into the biggest conferences right now. And that's what I'm seeing as the gray, is because when you start looking at the people who, like Michael Moriarty and Lori Moriarty, who have the security fraud, this clear, very, very clear past of fraud, and not even just like corporate fraud where you're like, yeah, I was going against the man.
Stuck it to the man, right?
No, they were fucking screwing regular people.
Right, little old ladies with the,
Right?
Right.
So it's like,
probably
if David
some
Grush,
of the most vulnerable members of
society,
right?
Right? Penny stocks and shit.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this, but if David Grush was a convicted felon of security fraud, let's just use the same example.
Right.
Security fraud. I don't know how he would be. I don't know how he would be that plus. We don't even need a
hypothetical.
Huh?
We don't even need a hypothetical, because look at what happened with the mental health records, right?
Oh, right.
We don't even need a hypothetical. They found something in his background which they leveraged as a character flaw for a reason to Dylan Borland. Same thing, right?
They're
his accounts of the VA saying he's prone to paranoia, everything else, right? It's that discreditation.
Right.
Yeah.
Whether or not, and this is the sad truth, right? Whether or not we like it, sadly, even though we were always told to not judge a book by its cover, we often do. And we often have to this day and age, right? We can't, you can and maybe that's a bad analogy on just like the surface, but you can trust, or you can believe someone's story without, needing to know that they were an American hero in World War fucking II. Like, you don't need that credibility to be an experiencer, but oftentimes those are the cases that get the biggest draw.
That's what we're getting now, right? Because, back in the day, it was average people.
Right. Calvin Parker.
Now the marketing on it's changed.
Travis Walton.
And unless you come out of the government, right? Now the marketing of it has changed. And that's what I'm saying. And take it one step further.
Holy shit.
Just using myself as an example. Okay. I am hold on, let's get it up here.
Holy shit.
Ty, I'm a military veteran. I got my shit up on my part of the wall here, right, in my little neighborhood.
Yes, that's your name. That's your hood.
I've been in combat zones. I've been a government contractor in intelligence. I'm a corporate whistleblower, right? In a case that went up before the UK Supreme Court. And
Bigelow ain't nothing to fuck with.
Right.
It's not anything to fuck with.
Right.
It's the energy sector, which if anything touches on the UFO community, it's the energy world.
And it's probably the next biggest area of say something against it, and you're going to find yourself buried in the
oil field.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where, but where have I not come from? I wasn't in government when my thing happened. I didn't come through a program or an office that predetermined what I could and couldn't say.
Hold on. Listen, dude, it's not about that. It's
Yeah.
not, it is not about that.
No.
Charge whatever the fuck you want.
Right.
Everyone does. Right? But guess what? The truth? What do you think Bledsoe got paid last year for Contact? For him coming out there. They flew him in private. And again, nothing wrong with this.
Right.
But it goes back to the fundamental issue of amplifying certain stories over others based on the what you would discern as the latest, the greatest, versus the same old story repackaged 1,000 times, because those are the same ones that you have ongoing, like
Right.
fucking, and you're giving each other lifetime achievement awards and then fucking
Right.
the whole gambit.
I mean, and let's just run through our friend Joe, UAP Reporting Center.
Oh, I love Joe.
Right. Excellent points. Right. And I want to address them. So people have agents. Nothing abnormal about that. Absolutely. Not on any team. Cost money to go into any festival. Absolutely. Nothing wrong with people trying to make a profit from their hard work. Absolutely. Right. So here's the difference. Right. What are you going to a music festival for?
For a product.
Entertainment.
Entertainment, yeah.
Right? Why do people have agents? They have agents because they are selling a product.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They have agents because they are they have these agents because they're trying to.
They're either the product themselves or they have something.
Themselves
yeah.
In a thing, right?
Yeah.
So then the fundamental question is that what this is then? Is that what disclosure is? Is disclosure and the things that lead us to disclosure meant to be entertainment? Or is it meant to be a public movement towards the truth?
Right. That's what it's supposed to be.
Right? Are we entertainment or are we a movement? Because that's always been my thing. I'm like, why aren't we acting like activists? Right? When we just had, Joe Hawks, from the state of Connecticut in here.
Well, that's what I try to do.
Say, listen, this is great. The more states get involved in things, the more states create programs, then the more those things. The Joe Hawkses should be the one speaking at these events where he can, directly address a community that is interested. So that community of 5,000 people who come from 2,000 different jurisdictions and congressional districts from around the United States, those 2,000 can then go back and write their letters to their congressman and say, we need to do this in my state. We need to do this in my district. And what are we doing here in this state?
Yeah.
And what are we doing here? And
that's
what's happening. We're having a fucking Comic-Con.
That's so weird. It's like you read my mind. It's a Comic-Con. That's what it is. I actually related it to Comic-Con when I was there. I was like, oh, it's like the Comic-Con of UFOs, like UFO shit and everything, all related. Because it's not just UFOs. It is the larger sect. And that's what all these conferences are, is these lectures. Like there used to be lectures. There still are. Like where you go and like you just get a lecture from like Rizwan Virk. But these conferences have become more like spectacle. And that's okay. That's okay. That isn't the problem at the end of the day. The problem is the fundamental thing that we've brought up earlier is you can't be talent acquisition. You can't be the product. You can't be the judge and then human resource. You can't wear all those hats. And it seems like that's what's happening is you have a lot of people that are essentially keeping the gate, because if you're someone with evidence and you want to speak at a convention, like Contact in the Desert, yeah, I agree that you should have to earn your way to speak at the largest one, but they control all the smaller ones too. We talked about the lack of East Coast conferences. Like, there really isn't a lot already. And Contact, these ones are the pinnacle of conferences. Therefore, whether they like it or not, they get held to a higher standard.
Absolutely. I mean, and again, that's the whole, and listen, I'm excited. I love, just like everybody said, the networking and the meeting people, to be able to sit down, the face to face,
and there's a
all
difference.
the value that comes out of that and all the rest of it. Go ahead. Yeah.
There's a difference between McMinnville's festival, Exeter's festival, and Contact in the Desert. Right? There's a very clear difference.
Yeah.
A festival like that, you walk in, it's free. You pay for the extra stuff. Right? The lectures. That's what you pay for. With Contact, you got to pay to get in the door, right? Just to get into the Comic-Con, essentially. And then you have to pay more to get into certain things. It's like a tiered system, again, packages. And that's okay. To have workshops and sky watches and all that stuff.
And to Joe's point, right? No shade on anybody filling a market demand.
No, I think it's great.
That's why this isn't even about them.
Actually, ironically,
it's about us. It's about the community. It's about we, the public, have incentivized this behavior.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We reward this because we don't demand any accountability, and we don't demand anything different, and we don't demand anything other than a spectacle. Right? And and whether that spectacle is I get to see my favorite person that I, go on their podcast, what does it have to do with the end goal of disclosure? What will be achieved at the end of this that has advanced, moved the needle, or done anything, again, based on the speakers that are coming? Because the speakers who are coming are just retelling their old stories all over again, right? And
yeah, there was that. To my knowledge, there was no member of Congress at last year's, and there won't be at this year's. So, if we're talking about like them claiming that they're the forefront of like this investigative, like research. Like,
but what would be really fascinating?
That's not really what they do. They need to be transparent about being an entertainment company. Right? Not
right. Exactly. They are an entertainment, so these are entertainment events. The people who are on the panels, right? The people who are being presented as the experts, there should be transparency about their relationship and or financial entanglements with anybody to do with the production and putting on the production. There should be transparency between, the guests that are there and their entanglements amongst one another, right? To a degree.
As a private company, do you have to?
No, you don't have to.
Is that the problem? Oh, God.
That's the problem. And so this is,
this is allowed to be hidden behind, like, unfortunately, what it comes down to is people like us talking about it is the only way it ever gets told.
It is, right. And, we're going to be
that's crazy
crucified for it. But, again, it's
I know. I don't expect to ever be at another Contact in the Desert.
It's that being held to a higher standard, right? It's that we're trying to move forward. And we're shocked that we can't move the ball forward when
we're really just a traveling circus.
When
what the fuck are we going to move forward?
When we have the opportunities to come out in mass and to let our voices be heard on this important now political issue. Right?
Which, by the way,
We're-
the company that is getting the people that on their panel for Contact and other conferences like the summits, that when they're also working alongside Congress to get this stuff into that sphere, because they're also lobbying Congress to a degree, that becomes
they're shadow lobbying
that.
Congress.
Yeah,
right?
like you said,
because they do it through some creative thing that we're just having workshops,
foundations and yeah,
right.
and we get into another gray area, a big, again, not inherently illegal, but a very big gray area. Because again, what we're doing is we're putting the credibility of the entire movement on the line. Everything that's been done up into this point. And it's like, it just seems like some people are willing, they're willing to risk it all as long as their pockets keep, or their lifestyle is not altered.
Yeah.
At all. If not, it's only benefited them. And I know I'll rub some people the wrong way saying these kinds of things, but there is a financial incentive to speak at these conferences.
Yep.
There is a financial incentive for podcasts, for journalists a lot of journalism has gone independent, right? So there is a lot of incentive to be at these things and to be seen, to be involved, and God forbid you speak out against the big bad machine. You get slapped around. And last year I was doing the rounds. That's when I interviewed Avi Loeb. Right? I did it for Contact.
And all I'm saying, none of that should be a concern.
But it is.
But it is. And that's what's mind-boggling to me. It's what forces you to call everything into question.
Yes, it forces you to look at this whole thing as like, and honest to God, for me, as someone, I saw what I saw. I know what I fucking saw.
Right.
But even I've had times where I'm sitting in this area, in this studio, looking around at everything. And I'm wondering, is this all a fucking lie? Like, is it all a fucking lie?
I'm just talking more in the sense of the actual movement, all the things that folks are criticized for, right? This disclosure pipeline and who's getting, and is it really the government behind it controlling? Because there's a whole other aspect of this too, Ty, because if you're the government and you want to control the issue, right? Some great people to find are people who are a little on the edge of being scrupulous, because it's a little bit of a lever you can hold over their head.
Of course.
And it becomes the flush on the drain when something goes wrong, which is why, to the earlier part about the optics, right? Because let's say Burleson or Burchett or Luna truly piss off the wrong person. This is one of those things. This is one of those things that you can just pull the chain on and hand to an opponent and let the optics fly as they may, and let the cards fall where they may. And anyone who's an up and coming young politician, right, we all know they love the dirt, they love the how can I frame my opponent
as being a crackpot or this or that? How can
right? I mean, let's face it, if Trump does not come out with anything really groundbreaking in this UFO release, right? In the release of these documents, you're potentially again looking at a situation where the opponents, the Democrats, they can take all of this and you know, and you throw something like this into it, and you're like,
You guys
"Look,
want to
this-
talk about fraud, waste, and abuse?
Right.
Wasting our time with all this shit.
right? Oh, you want to listen? This is an entertainment thing. This is all, you know, lay it all out. I mean, and I'd hate to think that I'd hate to think myself, because I legitimately believe these things, you know, in these issues. Um, and it could all be stripped away, because the majority of this is focused on the entertainment and the circus, and
Like,
you know, building empires and personalities and shit
people
like that. And
people really think that Disclosure Day, the movie, the Hollywood movie, is going to get us disclosure. Like, they really think that. Like that there's some like hidden UFO footage in there.
right,
And then it's gonna, like, Spielberg's been working with fucking,
yeah,
you know what I mean? It's all this thing to get disclosure
Right.
out there. It's like, guys, come on. What world are we living in?
right.
Like,
But what world we're living? We're living in. We are living in this world where there is a disclosure themed reality show going on, and we are all part of it. We are not only the audience, we are also the producers, and we're kind of also members of the cast.
we're everything.
And if you want to really go down that rabbit hole,
Oh, dude, my brain just broke.
look at, you know,
My brain just broke.
Prometheus Entertainment, right?
My brain just fucking broke.
Back
thinking
in
about that.
2000, they've created the reality show, you know, the reality based TV genre being created back in 2000. And geez, you know, 14, 15, 16, 17 years later, as we've formed all these shows, let's have, you know, one massive reality show, you know, live 24/7 around the world. You know, that's almost what this feels like sometimes, is that there's an even smaller group of them that realize that they are putting on a reality show.
When was the last time that you saw a UFO case get investigated, brought up the chain, hit the news cycle, gone national, global, whatever? When was the last time you saw that happen?
I mean, honestly, I don't remember ever. You know, coming into this,
like a Travis
like,
Walton, you know what I mean? Like, that makes national attention.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
so again, like, I didn't know Travis Walton's name until.
Bro, tell me you fucking just saw. Holy shit, dude.
What the hell was that?
Tell me you just caught that on camera.
I did. I'm pretty sure you were on.
Tell me you caught that on camera. Bro, my microphone just exploded.
What came off?
The fucking screwed in piece. This is so tightened in there that this makes no sense. Anyone who has a Shure microphone knows that those clips do not just pop off.
Can anyone in the chat just kind of
Holy
confirm if
shit,
that was
bro.
on screen when that happened? That was really, and
that was the most.
And just for and for people,
that was the most.
Most people will know that we suspect there is a ghost in here.
I hope Vito is watching right now.
Yeah,
because, bro, that dude is probably losing his fucking mind, bro. And that didn't just. Was it me or did it rocket off?
It shot off.
It shot out. Anyone who has this microphone knows that these things are, they don't do that.
Yeah.
They don't. That would be like your thing popping off right now.
Right.
Check how tight yours is.
These here?
Yeah.
Those are like super tight.
I keep all of them
Yeah.
nice. And then, what the fuck?
That was fucking crazy. It was falling into frame.
I wonder, you probably didn't even hear it either. I'm like shaking.
I heard it.
I'm shaking.
Yeah.
That was the most in my face example to date in this studio of activity.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. That one is this close to my face, literally. It couldn't have been more clear. I don't know what that.
Did you get the timestamp on that? It's like 9:15.
No, this 2 minutes ago, so like
9:15 on this clock would probably.
No.
So anyway,
Vito, that was crazy. That was crazier. I'm telling you, it was crazier.
Yeah.
That was out of nowhere. But
so we talk about the new cases coming forward. So again, from my perspective, right? I'm reminded of a lot of things. Like I remember the was it 94 when the Air Force came out with the new Roswell stuff, and they said it was a dummy.
The 70s, late 70s.
Yeah, but there was a 94 press conference that they did where they revisited it, and that's where they came out with the.
Oh yeah, Roswell revisited.
And then there was another.
No, Roswell case closed.
Yeah. And then the when I saw the videos of was it the governor or the mayor in Arizona?
Fice Abington,
that came out with the alien. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. But if you ask me, I don't know any of the cases.
It doesn't happen anymore for some reason.
But it's the same thing, and we've talked about it how many times, right? How come we're not really hearing about the the fishermen and the this and that? It's all this, it's all about whistleblowers and the pipeline and and now there's just a proliferation of videos of varying quality and we've got the addition of the AI problem. And so, there's a whole lot of things.
It just seems like there's so much that's happening, but there's so much that's also not happening that I don't know. It seems weird. It seems weird to me that
well, we're spinning our wheels. I mean, it's literally right. The wheels.
You talked about how the marketing changed.
Right. The wheels are getting faster and faster, but the car's still not moving anywhere. Right. And in a way, we're kind of even digging ourselves deeper, into the mud.
Right. But I think ultimately
it's been an entire marketing change. They changed. They rebranded from UFO to UAP
and went military.
Right. And then it became this real government focus. Which again, I guess, that's the movement, right? Is to say, okay, we want to get this information out of government.
But that began with To the Stars Academy. That began with that era, the 2017 era, when they were using the Nimitz case as a springboard, as a launching pad, as this whole OSAP thing. Right. All of that was in that New York Times article, and it was inherently wrong. But everyone looks the other way and calls Leslie Kean a hero.
Yeah, and it was almost inherently built for TV, built for entertainment.
It literally became a National Geographic channel with Lou, his series. What's it called, guys? You guys know it. It was Elizondo's show. What was the name of Elizondo's show? Investigating the Unknown? No, that sounds like a different one because there's so many of them. I mean, look at Gaia, the channel, right? It's a media conglomerate, and they're continuously marketing. That's where all the secret space program was born out of. The Corey Goods, the David Wilcox. And then you have Luna out of left field, saying oh, I'm sorry for David Wilcox's death. I would have never expected her to comment on his passing. Yeah. Because he was such a known fraudster.
Right. So
he said he was the reincarnation of Michael, the archangel. You think a person like her sharing the Book of Enoch all the time and these cryptic fucking photographs would be hey, maybe he's not the reincarnation of Michael.
Yeah.
Probably not.
I mean, so I think that all.
But that's that ancient alien mentality.
Right. But that all illustrates this fundamental question.
Sorry, I'm going
of
unidentified inside America's UFO investigation. That's what it was. And it went 2 or 3 seasons with Elizondo. And yeah. It was the show was actually pretty good. I actually enjoyed it.
Lost myself there for a minute.
I actually really enjoyed that show. I'm not going to lie. Because and this is something again, because inherently to me, and I think sadly, whether we want to believe this or not, when someone has military credentials, the case seems more legit.
As it should, right? I mean, this is the thing. Yes, the credentials matter. All of these, the people who are politicians, people who are in positions of significant responsibility, who have exercised that in their life, absolutely, unequivocally should be taken, seriously, should be explored. Again, that doesn't allow them to bypass any accountability. And, I think we also see a little bit of that happening, that there are people who are military veterans and they say some stuff and we're inherently supposed to believe it because they're,
right, a double-edged sword on that one.
Right, just military
veterans. Or that they fought fucking blue aliens under base, underground.
I mean, whatever it is, the fundamental question is, if evidence has been democratized truly in the community, has is there equal opportunity?
Well, I'll tell you a story
for evidence to be evaluated and to be elevated to the positions that perhaps
I got the perfect
could
one.
have action.
I got the perfect one. And sadly, it is Contact in the Desert again. But this is before. The acquisition by Captain Ron and I'm sorry, the other guy's name, Jordan Peckrell, who I want to talk about in just a second, by the way, because Gordon Peckrell. Gordon Peckrell. Pre acquisition by those guys, Contact was held at a place called Joshua Tree, right? And it was actually in the desert outside. Hence the name Contact in the Desert, right? Mm-hmm. These events were still massive enough where it put, because the pipeline from Contact back then and Gaia Television, it was a short pipeline. So all the guys that were doing Contact were the David Wilcoxes, the Michael Salas, the Corey Goods, and with the secret space program shit. And that got sent through the chain from Gaia, right? So Gaia's platforming all this shit.
Right. A whole other ecosystem.
Whole other ecosystem, but that's doing something very similar, right? They are marketing these investigation or investigatory documentaries and all this type of content, monetization of the pursuit of truth, right? And inherently, again, nothing wrong with that. You could argue what we're doing right now is that. But that secret space program thing got elevated to such a degree that it was the biggest thing in the UFO field around 2018, 27. I can't, between 2018, 2019, aside from like the New York Times, because you always had that hard nuts and bolts side, but you also had the fucking woo, right? What was dominating the woo side was this secret space program thing, this Corey Good thing. And then through deposition, ultimately we find out it's all bullshit. People lost millions of dollars. David Wilcock was one of them. Corey Good never, like, Corey Good switched the payment method, like the bank that was getting all the money from like the documentaries and all that. He switched it to his own personal bank account. Right. And he's out there right now. Like he owed David Wilcock millions in royalties and shit like that. Cause they had like one of their documentaries was huge, but it's that echo chamber, right? That allowed it to be successful in the first place. Because someone raised it actually a really good question. and I saw this. So would the Travis Walton case, as of right now, if that happened today, would it have the same impact that it did then? I argue no, because it's some random fucking logger in the woods, right? That's nobody to us. Right? The story that would just be like some crazy. What we would do now is chalk it up to the standard. Someone in the South got abducted by aliens on the fall. Like the stereotypes would kick in, right? The evidence would be picked apart harder. It wouldn't even make it past the social media threshold, right? Let alone being one of the most famous cases of all time with a movie made about it, Fire in the Sky, right? It wouldn't have that level. Like Calvin Parker, and Charles Hickson abducted Pascagoula. Would that case be what it was today as it was then? I doubt it.
Right.
Because they were nobodies. Literally.
Right.
They were southern laborers, right? They don't have fucking gold medals and a shining. They weren't part of the NSA, right?
So it leads to the fundamental question of not just who do you trust,
20 and back, yeah.
But how do you trust anything, right? Because when money gets involved, and I know you've been there in your personal relationships and business things, and we've talked about it in various ways.
Sadly, whenever it gets to money, the relationship always falls apart.
I mean, unless you have the uncomfortable talks up front, and you document and you say, all right, this is where it is, and these are the expectations, and and it has to be on paper. It has to be we've got our friends over at on X, UAP magazine, UAPX magazine is firing up, and have a lot of conversations with them about about what happens when it takes off. And there's all the startup budgets and startup costs, and what become people's expectations begin to change. Like right now, everybody wants to throw in their article and throw in their this and throw in their that, but as soon as they think there's money, then everything changes. I ran into it again in running an opera company, that people would see, oh, there's we got a grant, right? The company got a grant, and they think all that grant money is, should go to them, not realizing, well, no, it's actually earmarked for very specific things. And, there's legal requirements and there's reporting requirements, and it's not even really a grant. I got to spend the money first and then show what I did,
and get reimbursed.
Decide if they are going to reimburse, if what I did met the spirit of what they were willing to give the grant for etc. But that did not stop anybody from flapping their gums about what they suddenly thought they deserved.
Do you think money? Do you think money corrupts? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm talking about absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I ran into a thing a couple of years ago where I was sponsoring an event, right? And I went well beyond what I initially agreed to sponsor the event for. And the operator, the owner, the founder, was collecting ticket revenues and deposits from vendors and all the rest of it. And then, 4 days beforehand, starts like, oh, can you pay for this? Can you pay for that? You got to pay for this. I need you to pay for that. There's no money. There's no money. There's no money. I'm like, well, where's the money? I've been seeing the ticket sales. I've seen how many vendors you have. I know how much. I know all these numbers, right? And he's like, no, that's my compensation because I take time from my job, because he was like a painter and he actually painted at night. So he's like, but for the time that I put into putting on this festival, that's my compensation, is that ticket and revenue.
100% of the ticket
Yes.
and revenue
Yes.
goes to you.
So
The fuck?
So he's the one that started the business. It's his life vision, his life goal, all this and that. And, he got me to say, okay, yeah, I love that vision. I want to help. And here's what I'm going to do.
So you bought
and
into
I
it.
just focused on and the money I contributed went directly to the things I said it was going to go to. Right. But the basic infrastructure he didn't even have covered, and wanted to pay himself before he even got the permit to have the event.
Right. Like you hadn't even
got a table, a chair,
you hadn't succeeded at all in the event part yet. Yet you're claiming
but
all the revenue to date.
But regardless of the success of the event, he was compensated.
Whether it fucked,
if the event made money, which it didn't, then maybe I would have recovered some of what I went beyond to cover the basic expenses.
Right. Because you're doing everything last
minute. So I
minute
did the
now.
sponsorship.
Yeah.
Plus, then I wound up having to cover the basic, because by that point, I was so heavily invested in the sponsorship
that you needed it to go on.
That it had to go on. And I was the bad guy either way.
Right.
Because if I said, "Oh, go fuck yourself," if that's what you're going to do, then all he had to do was be like, "Oh, my sponsor backed out on me." Right? It's his story to tell. So the best I can do is see it through and hope I get something back out of it.
Right. That's a shitty position. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Number one, the knowing who you're getting into bed and doing business with. And then after the fact, everybody comes out of the woodwork and is like, "Oh my God, he's done this to so many people through the years."
And it's like, how come no one's fucking spoken up?
Nobody picks up the phone and tells you that.
Drop a dime, bro.
Right.
So here's us dropping a dime.
So, I mean, fundamentally.
But so contact is actually not as clean as I thought. Mm-hmm. Now, what I'm about to say, we have a source, many sources for. The case was thrown out ultimately, but Ron's like the face of contact, mm-hmm. right? There's another guy, Gordon Peckrell, mm-hmm. and there was a case that we came across that court records indicated that Gordon had pretty much significant legal issues with the IRS. Now, I'm not saying, again, second chances, all that, right? We've all been there.
Right. I had,
but we've not all been there for millions of dollars.
Chasing me. No, not millions, but
right. Yeah. So the IRS asserted that Peckrell owed millions of dollars in taxes for tax years 2002 to 2007. The IRS placed liens on his property and garnished his Social Security benefits. And then Peckrell claimed that the government injured him. So in the amount of...
So hold on. So he was in debt for millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And he was getting Social Security benefits.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Again.
I mean, I don't know how old the guy is or what the circumstances are, but to owe millions of dollars means you made an awful lot of money.
Well, he claimed the government injured him.
Is that why you needed to be on Social Security?
Yeah. That's just that's what from what I gathered. Yes. So and he, Jesus, almost $10 million. Almost $10 million was the amount that he collected in assets without jurisdiction. But the case was again dismissed for lack of jurisdiction. So, you know, but our source there is fine law, trellis law, unicourt, public records, and so while again,
And there were other cases too, right?
There were other
a lot of
cases,
it. So,
but
and again, for anyone who's, wants to foo-foo it,
and again,
but remember, taxes, business dealings, bankruptcies, this is all stuff we go after our politicians and our leadership on, right? Trump was dragged all through all sorts of courts,
yeah,
and everything. The Clintons, everybody's been dragged through courts for their failed businesses,
conflating prices,
for their tax issues that
they just fucking indicted Comey over a picture,
right? I mean, what was it, Ilhan Omar, the congresswoman, claimed $30 million and then redid her taxes, and now it's like, oh no, I only made 90,000, not 30 million.
Yeah.
I mean, so again, it's a standard.
It's happening all over the place.
Right. And so, we
need Nick Shirley to come into the UFO community.
I mean, maybe we do. Maybe we need
Nick Shirley, come to the UFO community. Clean this motherfucker out.
Right.
God damn.
I mean, are these people as public of figures, as politicians? No, but again, in leadership positions, you are you have inherent trust that is given to you, right? Just by virtue of what you're doing, there is a large degree of inherent trust.
Can I tell you one more?
Yeah.
One more. And then I'm done. I'm done for the night. The booker for KGRA radio is a convicted sex offender. Let me say that one more time, just in case you didn't hear it. The guy that acquires talent for KGRA radio, who many people in the UFO community have podcasts with, why do you think I don't work with the International UFO Bureau anymore? Because they got in bed with KGRA and I raised a concern.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone looks at that as me being hard to work with or something like that. That's what they claimed. I'm hard to work with. Yes, because I don't want to work with fucking sex offenders. And when I bring up the question about how a dominant, by the way, the International UFO Bureau was touting themselves as 3 generations of women leading the charge of an UFO investigation and reporting.
Right.
How's that going to look?
Right.
How about the optics on that one?
Right. But, I mean, and it's, and you bring up a good point in that.
And they're a nonprofit.
Just raising the issue. Oh, never mind.
Every meeting I went to about the Bureau was about merchandise, and they're a fucking nonprofit. I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah. I mean, we'll look at the time because, when you said that about the nonprofit, the first thing that popped in my mind is Stephen Greer and the donations and there's actually a lot of people that I see do it. They're like, oh, we take donations. And if you read everything, it's like, they're taking donations, but it's not actually tax deductible donations. It's not really a charity. It's not, they misuse that term.
Yo, this dude just killed me.
That's but
but can I tell you what? I didn't finish that.
Yeah, go ahead.
That guy, he met me, and yeah, I'm a young guy, right? I can't even fucking make this up, dude. I haven't told this story.
I think you'd be what's called a twink.
I think so. You'd be a bear. I'd be a twink.
Yes.
Right?
You're
definitely a bear.
I'm definitely a bear. Listen, I go to a lot of Broadway musicals. I am the belle of the ball.
Oh gosh. I thought you were Beauty and the Beast.
No. When I show up at a Broadway show,
yeah, we should turn it into a
I'm fighting
comedy.
the guys off me all the time. I'm like, no, thanks, but not in that talk, but yeah.
Oh God. See, I think we should do more of these shows, man. Julian, him and his producer have been doing shows. And I was like, God, such a good idea. Such a good idea. Just riff. Bah, 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 bah. But this was more pointed, obviously. But I really just like this format. It's nice to have someone across from me.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm just falling in love with the in-person stuff. But I don't know. So anyway, I was on a meeting with the Bureau and they were pitching. This is before I had my partner look into Bill Forte. And I did the meeting, but something felt off, right? Something felt off. And I remember halfway during it going, hey, can you find out everything you can about this guy? Because she's the queen of fucking research.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, she come back with everything. Convictions, where they were from, little kid. Like, I don't even want to talk about it, but I'm just putting it out there that this guy offered to he was like, he didn't even know me yet. And within like 10 minutes, he was offering to let me stay at his house
mm-hmm.
to speak at that conference in New York.
Mm-hmm.
No offense. What's that? Pine bush?
Bush.
I don't know what the fuck it's called. Fucking Harry Bush. Where is it?
Pine Bush.
That's that one.
Yeah.
I don't want to step on toes here. But that guy offered to fucking put me in his house after knowing me for 20 seconds. And then I get the report back that he's a convicted sex offender. And I look young and I got charisma. I'm not saying that he wanted to have me at his house, but I'm saying he said I could stay at his house. And I found that very odd what to say to ask like the way he said it was super creepy. And that's why I was like, yo, find out what you can about this guy. And then it came back. And then right after the meeting, I raised concerns. And then I got let go or separated ties with the Bureau.
Yeah.
And that's why I have to cover that goddamn logo.
Yeah.
I have to cover they can't see it right now. But anytime you see that side of the room, you'll see like a shirt over a logo. Fuck it.
Oh, we're going remote. There we go. Get in there.
There's a reason that it's covered. That was an expensive banner, so I just covered it until we can replace it. I need Gene to replace it for me.
Yeah.
Shit. But yeah. All right, that's the last one for me, man. But clearly, we have a problem. Like Houston, we have a fucking problem. Look who's doing this.
I think we do. I think, and I'll even downgrade the problem or the characterization of it as a problem to at least say there is a significant risk. And there's a number of significant risks. There is a risk overall to the broader public credibility of the effort, the movement of disclosure. Actually,
one of the bookers for contacts in the comments.
Oh, good.
Brianna says that I could have, it sucks that I didn't want a conversation. I did. And I had sent an email to you guys. And then the answer that I got back was only after I posted that I had a story to tell. 20 minutes after, Gene, I sent you that email.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to send it out to the world because I'm not like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you can go back and look at it and you can see right under it where I say, hey, where I'm talking to the person and I'm going, hey, I'd really love to talk to you about like some of the shit that's happened over the last year. Like it's kind of been a rough road. I would love to get on the same page with you. I end it with a nice compliment. I'm like, you're a legend. What you do is great. Because I do think that person and that person that's talking in the comments, wonderful human beings, wonderful, very hardworking, like very diligent, very, very, very pleasant. But I just, that even if they were to invite me to contact at that point, and this is before tonight, before I said any of this, even if they did invite me, I didn't know if I wanted to go because I just didn't. I knew that I wouldn't have felt the way I felt last year, where I was so welcome. Right? I would have felt like Ashton Forbes last year,
Right.
where everyone's looking down their nose at that person.
Right.
Why is he? Why are they here? That's how I felt it would have gone. And maybe it's all in my head.
Right.
Maybe it is, but that is not the problem. That's not necessarily what I'm getting at. That was just the bridge that led me to look in deeper.
Right.
That is just what got me looking. And then when I saw all this other stuff, I go, Houston, we have a problem. Like there's rampant, like inviting me or all that bullshit. That's fucking do you, boo. Hate me. Don't hate me. Like that's how it's been, right? In high school. Are you invited to the party? Are you not invited? We've been living with this all my life. Or, you get in some places you can't please everyone. I just thought it was a little different. But with this in particular, there's nothing I can do about that. Like they want to invite other people. They don't want to give a media badge. That's fine. That's great. If I wanted to go, I would pay the fucking $1,500 and just go.
Right.
I was going to go with you. Was I not?
Right.
So up until recently.
Yeah.
But then I was like, nah, I just don't.
You weren't going to do it. I think
yeah.
Everything that was going on. I mean, and again, it doesn't, it's.
And I'm not targeting just contact here. I'm talking about the system behind everything.
Right. Right. And
it's the hierarchy behind it.
Right. And that's the whole fundamental. I mean, that's the question I've always had about the purpose and the roles of these things. And this question of, is this a movement or is it entertainment? And because both require a very different approach, and the preponderance of the evidence, and the structures that are at work, are entertainment focused.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
Entertainment does not equal advocacy, and it creates a lot of limiting factors in and of itself. Then you can add to that the ancillary issues that would further move that needle away from a movement, and that could actually disrupt the movement,
the actual goal,
the
end game,
the actual goal, the actual end game, and all of that. And so, does disclosure benefit from several, right? Because we talked about several, we talked about To the Stars, all the rest of it. Does disclosure benefit? Does it truly benefit in some way of these closed ecosystems that are recycling the same people in different packages for entertainment purposes, right? That don't actually get us anywhere. I mean, it's just, and I mean, it's the fundamental question, I've been sort of trying to answer for myself, because it's like, what exactly is this, and does it make a difference? And if not, then
what I think makes a difference.
I don't want to waste my time.
What I think makes a difference is those conversations, like with Joe Hoxa, like with those conversations bringing Salas into a sitting member of Congress's office. Like those, I got more joy out of those moments facilitating something that was bigger than me, right? Something that moved the needle, or at least to my eye, it did, right? Like it was doing something that hadn't been done before.
Right.
Bob had never briefed a sitting member of Congress. Like, it was something I could feel proud about myself. The conversation with Joe, right? These other certain things that I've been able to do and been so lucky to be a part of.
Yeah.
Those are the things that matter.
Right.
All of this other stuff, the conference circuit, all of it, while as great as it is for networking, while as great as it is to be able to meet the people that are passionate about the topic, because at at Phenomicon, at the summits, the UAP tracking summit, the
Right.
psionic awards, like it's a growing number now of big ones.
Did you say psionic awards?
Psi games, sorry. Psi games, not awards.
Games isn't much.
Well, there's the Conscious Life Expo where they do give each other like lifetime achievement awards, and it's crazy. Like it's always Jimmy Church giving like a lifetime achievement awards like Linda Moulton Howe. And you're like, oh, what? I thought she already had 8 of those from you guys. Like I'm not how does this work? Who decides? I just don't get it. But yeah, no, those ones make me laugh. But so there are these places that I just, like you said at the beginning, I don't think, there's not members of Congress attending them. Not that they have to be, or not that that's what they're even designed for, but they are also marketing themselves as a place where innovation or investigation and research, they come to like advance. And I just think there's a lot of deception in what things are in this world. Is like you said, I think it comes down to, is it entertainment? Is it
right?
And maybe we need to be a little bit more transparent about that.
Yeah, and exactly, and it's like, this positioning that, okay, we're here to present this great new evidence. Well, it's
like on YouTube videos,
and again, and like, this is the best. This is, like, there's so much more going on, and so many more people and voices and stuff that are out there, that again, it just draws, it highlights that question of why. I mean, because there's a number of things I look at, I'm like, why is anyone talking about this, and why is like this even a thing? Because they don't see the inherent. It's a cool story. It's entertaining. It's all of these things, but and again, and maybe, it's not you, it's me. Maybe I just had the wrong expectations of what to expect within these structures and these systems and all the rest of it. And maybe what I expect doesn't exist. We can use the example of the interview with Joe Hoxha, right? Like, I was so pumped up after that. I wrote this big thing with the letter, send your congressman, right to Joe Hoxha, right?
Yeah.
Even though you're not a constituent, write to him, lend your support.
Yeah.
Write to your thing. But you know what? But the take up on it, the interest, the sharing, all of those metrics that express interest and support aren't there for that. But say something shitty and you're all over the place.
Yep. Sadly. What is it? Like the if it bleeds, it leads, right? So if it's like drama, or if it's dramatic, or if it's like that, it's ultimately probably going to garner more interest. And it's like, goes back to that, what you said at the beginning. It's like
a microcosm of larger society.
I was going to say it's a reflection of the society that allows for it. Like we're a society that we want equality for genders, but we allow things like OnlyFans to exist. Right?
Right.
Inherently, those contradict each other.
Right.
Right.
I mean, not just equality, but basic human rights, basic decency, basic this and this and that, and then you flip it. There was a Netflix.
You can't hate the player.
Yeah,
you gotta hate the game.
Right. I mean, there was a Netflix special I watched not long ago, and it was all about like these guys who all their social media is based around like teaching you how to be a real man and like how to talk to women and and
you didn't know this,
making the money and no, again, I've seen, listen, I'm obviously a different generation than the intranet was built for, the intraweb was built for, right? I'm the Gen X, last of the feral children, latchkey kid kind of things. So honestly, I see this
like
stuff.
Andrew Tate, that's that whole the manosphere thing.
Yeah. That whole thing. So this Netflix special, it's like, diving into it. And one of the main points out of it was that like one of these guys who's the top creators, like he doesn't really believe any of it. And he doesn't really live his life that way. It's that this is just entertainment. And what struck me about it was that idea, like, well, people didn't know that. Like, people didn't know that this stuff that they're doing isn't real, and that it's just, they're just being ridiculous and they're just being stupid and they're just, doing it because people will react to it. And
it garners a reaction.
I mean, and they do. So
there's a whole industry right now there's a whole there's two things too. So there's people that will like micro fracture their jaw. I forget what they call it. It's like bone breaking or whatever. They're micro fracturing their jaw to change the shape of it, because then the bone goes back a different way when you're creating these micro fractures in your jawline. So then it's more like square because they want to look a certain way, like Squilliam in that one episode of SpongeBob where he's all buff. You probably too old for that one too. God, you're fucking old. Just kidding. We're gonna put this as entertainment / comedy / education.
Right.
See, even on YouTube, you have to label your shit.
Yeah.
But we'll wrap up here.
Yeah. No, you're right. But that's a very good point. It goes back to what we were saying earlier, right? Between the relationships, like the marketing, the conferences, the appearances. What are the entanglements? What are the relationships? Who's appearing because they have this relationship versus they're appearing because they met some sort of criteria for being, the best or the most current or, or whatever it is. All that stuff has to be declared like online on, social media, on Instagram, and
you have to be transparent about like if you're doing it as an ad or like if you're
so like if you
representing
were
a brand
that sponsored the episode, if you were like just sitting here sipping it without like brand placement, like
product placement
like that, right?
You have to tell YouTube that you do that.
You
literally have to check, and if you don't, they'll get you. They'll get you for everything nowadays. They're getting a lot of people for like a lot of the educational video thing where they mass create or they kind of like do the same thing every time with like animations and shit. A lot of those channels are getting flagged right now because they think it's AI. It's like the AI is flagging human creators as AI.
So I'll just give my final words.
Okay, yeah.
And then
closing statements, if you will.
Statements. I guess my whole thing in all of this would be that as consumers, I would say we need to stop being consumers. We need to start acting more like advocates and more like a public who is trying to advance.
That's actually true.
An issue.
So they do the video on demand.
Right. Exactly. and we need to act more in terms of this, again, advocacy, that we need to come together to equally challenge the key figures and hold them accountable for the things they say, what they present, the way they present it. We need to be doing it across the board, right? The idea of these camps and, belief systems or whatever that are focused on cults of personality just need to dissolve, or we need to work and act with intent on what it is that we share, what it is you repost, what is it that you platform, that you question the intent behind all of these things, regardless of how much you like the personality. You still got to question the intent.
Yeah. I kind of compounding on that, because I think what you said is right, or makes, it's a very, very well phrased, is we've done such a good job dividing ourselves into these factions, and we're defending our favorite UFO gurus like they're, our fantasy football team. And, instead of doing that, if we would focus on the things that we have in common, right? Flip the script a little bit, right? We talked about being the change you want to be. Again, like, I think these conferences, I think they're there are great places for networking. There are great places for getting out and seeing the people that, like, because I know for me, before I had met everyone, I did look up to them. I still look up to some people, like certain individuals in the UFO. I definitely look up to, but less so now, as seeing them as more of colleagues. But there are people that I definitely still look up to. So for the person who's not engaged in this every day, that watches, like, the documentaries, and, sees Stephen Bassett as still someone they look up to. And when they meet him, like, it's like it all becomes worth it. That's awesome. These conferences are great for that. What I don't think is cool is, and this is across the board, okay? Across the board, it is not okay. I don't think it's cool to essentially, whether you willing or unwillingly become that person, like whether you're the Corbell and Knapp of Congress, and you're the ones who are essentially selecting who is speaking and testifying in front of Congress. And Corbell's no stranger to saying that he's the one responsible for most of the people that have testified, right? So inherently, that makes him some sort of gatekeeper on the people that are testifying. Whether he wants to,
Makes him a lobbyist.
Yes, it's willingly or unwillingly, he has become that gatekeeper. So there becomes an automatic leverage point there, where you're deciding what gets out and what doesn't. So whenever that's the scenario, whenever that's the situation, there's too much potential for fraud and fuckery. And whenever money is then involved also, there's a lot more room for fuckery and weird shit going on. Not saying that is what is happening in every single case, but it is definitely not zero.
No, and
right?
I think the grand takeaway for anyone involved in doing these things, I think the grand message is be more transparent about the relationships, be more explicit about who's appearing for what reasons and all the rest of it. So it's almost a call to action for a little bit better self-governance, let's say. Whether you're a creator or a producer,
But
or anything like that, it's
But even
a
that-
little bit of self-regulating.
even that, like, did you follow this guy, Dark Journalist?
Yes.
So I didn't realize this, but I had met Jesse Michaels several times, right? And he seemed cold every single time I met him. And again, I don't want this whole episode to be like, I fucking hate everybody, because that's not the case.
Right.
But I like went up to Jesse and was like, oh, dude, I'm a huge fan of what, because I am, like, his production value is off the fucking chain. Off the chain. So good.
Right.
Guy can fucking make a video. God dang. And I was like the incredible rise he's had over the past couple of years it's just incredible. But then you start looking back into what you start realizing, oh, he invested money for Peter Thiel. Oh, Peter Thiel is doing lectures about the Antichrist, but it's totally not the Antichrist. But yet is the CEO of Palantir and has tons of contracts with the government for artificial intelligence and defense. And like you start going, and also like this AI God bullshit is really uncomfortable. This transhumanist like movement that's begun.
It's almost as though Jesse Michaels is a marketing vehicle for a lot of business activities. It's almost as though he's a marketing vehicle to measure public opinion, to gather feedback, to do all of these things.
I didn't say it.
That have nothing to do with.
But Dark Journalist called him out on it, essentially. Called him out on that. And then for plagiarizing his work. And it's just like,
is that true?
What?
If it is, we need to go have some coffee. I grew up in Somerville.
I lived there for years.
Yeah.
Oh God, I shouldn't say that.
I grew up in Winter Hill with the Winter Hill gang, Whitey Bulger.
Dude,
back in the day.
We've talked about this. I don't know why it's
that was I used to
I was on Winter Hill.
Yeah, I used to be riding my bike and hey, Eugenie's kid, right?
I would love to be put in touch with Dark Journalist. I want to know more because I've had
this Chris. I do. Yeah, hey Chris.
I've been wanting to. I've had my suspicions for a while now that there's other things I've heard as well when it comes to Jesse, but I don't have.
So you were saying Dark Journalist called him out
for plagiarizing his work all the time.
All
the time. The most recent being the missing scientist stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, stop.
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 That's almost doxing.
You're getting way too specific. Unless Dark Journalist, the guy who has dark in his name, has said that out loud. I want to not be the reason that he becomes light journalist.
Right.
But no, I think people know his name too. He goes on Alex Jones.
Dude,
Alex Jones. Fucking InfoWars gone, just turned off.
Yeah.
And now it's like Alex Jones Network. He's going to make more money than he ever did before. He's going to be like the new Tucker Carlson. Yeah. Well, the same old Tucker Carlson.
But listen, there's always that thing to say that, what is it? Imitation's the greatest form of flattery. Again, something I've experienced on the art side, we do something and then, surely 4 to 6 weeks later, there's a certain individual.
Dude, I'm going to go find this guy.
Who then does
I'm going to go find this guy.
Who then does we'll go for coffee tomorrow.
Yeah.
Who then, suddenly does stuff. It's like, listen, you can copy all you want and you can,
but you need to credit it. You need to credit it as a source.
Right. That's
in the intellectual media, like,
or at least the inspiration or where I first learned about this person.
You source it.
Something like that. Right.
Yeah.
Give credit where credit is.
Yeah, please hook it up. We'll go to coffee with him tomorrow on me.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk to him because I got some stuff I want to run by this.
Yeah.
But
message me on Facebook, Chris, if you can hook that up.
Talked about because Jesse's best friends growing up, guess what with who?
Uh,
Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yeah.
The known scam artist.
Well, I mean, listen, it's
Yeah, we got to wrap up.
10. I mean, we can, listen, I could give you the whole breakdown of, Jeremy Corbell's childhood growing up in the suburbs
Cosmic
of
yoga.
Los-
Someone said earlier, that's his product.
Yeah, but again, you look at the circle, you look at the school that he went to for high school, the circle of kids and the industry that their parents come out of. It's not a far stretch to make the leap, or it's not a far leap when it comes to how he suddenly got an interest in documentary filmmaking and wound up in Knapp's doorstep, and it's not the story that he says, right?
Yeah.
It's not the mythos.
Well, he originally ended up on John Lear's doorstep.
He's same thing.
No, you got there, but
I get
there's an evolution though. That's interesting in itself.
Right. But again, it's the
I get it.
Self-regulating transparency. So I'll leave it to you. I'll shut up and you can wrap it all up.
No, you never have to shut up, dog. Come on, man. All right. A lot was said tonight. A lot was gone over. A lot was aired out. I did it for a reason because it's the right thing to do. It's what's the wrong thing to do is to not point out or bring to light certain what I see as moral gray areas in a community that has built itself on truth, transparency, and morality, and essentially holds its credibility and stock and merit in the public eye using that criteria. There's too much here to just simply go, it'll work itself out. It's okay. It'll be fine. Whatever. The personal stuff, that's all personal. That has nothing to do with the larger. That's simply the bridge in, right? The personal stuff is personal. That remains me or Gene and between the person or party that we were talking about. That is personal. That has nothing to do. But when it comes to the convictions and it comes to the actual reporting and the actual continued characteristic of a type of criminal, there is a moral gray zone. And again, I felt more compelled and disheartened when I found it out than I did ever needing to be at these things. So I'm okay if I never go to another contact in the desert again. Yeah. Honestly, I at this point, or another conference.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I'm hearing from you is just
conference in general.
Yeah, it's just this idea that you had an experience that led you to ask a lot of questions. The questions caused more concerns, and I think the way you framed this to me, when you said, "Hey, I want to talk about this," and again, I was like, listen, I think it's because I hear so much, right? It's probably a conversation that needed to happen somewhere, sometime. There's some things that, sometimes things have to be, these grievances individually need to be aired, need to be shared. And you hope that, again, something positive comes out of it. You hope it leads to a change, because it's not just us, right? These things aren't the first time we've heard it. It's like many things, right? It's the stuff everybody talks about, but nobody wants to say.
Yeah. Again, perfect. That's perfect. It's the elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about. And I've never been that person. If I see something wrong, I fucking speak up. I can't, because I can't. I have a conscience that won't allow me like to just look the other way. Like I've had many opportunities to do it,
Right.
to look away.
because like the situation I talked about, once somebody gets screwed over and once it's really public, then everybody's going to be, oh, I knew. Oh, I mean, this guy now, right, with the allegations, the assaults, and the inappropriate behavior, and da 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 da, right? Now everybody's coming out and saying, "Oh, geez, I knew something. Oh, something wasn't right."
And I implore everyone to look into it,
let's
fact
avoid,
check it.
let's avoid it. Let's have the uncomfortable conversation.
Let's get it over with now.
And discern what's a misunderstanding, or what anybody can do better in the future.
I agree. That's a good way to roll it out. Gene, thank you so much for coming in, bouncing off me tonight. Really appreciate it. We got so much really cool stuff coming up. I can't really say too much because we kind of want to keep it under the radar for now. But several really cool interviews lined up throughout the next month or two. Gene, you'll be going to Contact in the Desert. You'll be going
I'm
to
looking forward to it.
Bushwick fucking festival, all of them.
Pine Bush.
Pine Bush, sorry.
Though I'm not presenting at Snippy, I'm going as a guest. But Eric Hecker is speaking at Snippy, and then we've got the Exeter UFO Festival.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that one.
In the
yeah, I like that one. I like that one.
Yeah, so a lot of good
Fun
things,
stuff.
and you can always find me on out and about on X. I try to go into the spaces and be accessible and whatnot, and we're actually talking tomorrow with Joe from UAP Reporting Center, so that'll be good. Sure, he might have
He's a good dude
about this, but yeah, great.
All right. Yeah, and you can always find Gene here at the studio for Total Disclosure podcast. And we got, like I said, we got some great shit coming up. If you want to become a member, please click join on YouTube or Patreon. Just pay what you think the show is worth to you, and everyone gets the same thing. We're gonna try to do more members only stuff, giveaways. We got a bunch of patches and stickers and stuff like that.
New keychains.
Yeah, the new flight key. Is it keychain or flight tag?
It's a keychain. It's a flight tag keychain.
Okay. Yeah. So actually, I put one up right here. So I can show. So this thing, remove before contact.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. So we have these bunch stickers and books we're gonna give away, and it's gonna be great. So thank you so much, everyone. If you're listening in the future, please rate and review on your chosen podcast platform, and let us know what you think of all the topics that we discussed here today. We'll be doing another live show next week, where I might just do one of these again, maybe invite one other person. I'm not sure yet, but definitely want to keep a maintained schedule on YouTube so we can keep kicking it. So make sure to like, share, subscribe, help a brother out. You're going to be on your phone for the next 3 hours before bed anyway. And yeah, use it for some good. Help me out. We'll see you next time. Let's keep the lights on, baby. Stay humble, stay kind, stay vigilant.